Take your eyes off of it.
Yeah. Which one? I love it when people like, give me camera 2.
Camera 1, camera 2.
As if there's people actually back there operating them. So, yeah. You guys ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You ready to do this?
Let's do it.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Dream Job podcast. We are super excited to be back after a whole year off. That's a really bad intro, sorry. I've got a unique New York. Unique New York.
The Human Torch took out a bank loan.
Yeah. That's really good.
Yeah.
How now, brown cow? How now, brown cow? Yeah. Cool. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the next episode of the Dream Job podcast. My name is Riley Warren.
And I'm Shannon Jacobs.
And we are super excited to be back with you for episode 1 of season 2 of the Dream Job podcast with our first guest, head band director at Forney High School, Mr. Cody Newman. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, guys. Super excited to talk with you today.
We have been in talks with you about interviewing you on this podcast since the genesis of the Dream Job podcast. And you've had a lot of insight and influence on all of the great things we've been able to do. And we're just super excited to finally get to sit down and hear your story a little bit today.
Yeah, excited. Honored to be here with you guys. It's been cool seeing the project come to life from its very beginning. I feel a little bit like I was at the ground floor with you guys whenever you were kicking the ideas around. I was like, yeah, go for it. This is going to be great. And then you guys have just really gone just through the roof with all the great content you've been putting out there. So really proud of it.
Thank you so much. It's been a really awesome journey, and we've been really proud to grow a little bit of a fan base. Mostly percussion director base has been kind of the focus for season 1, but we're really excited here in this upcoming season to interview quite a few more wind directors, band directors, people who've really either transitioned into band directing or that's been their career path. And so, we work with you every day here at Forney High School, and so we just knew that your voice and your story would be something that I think people would be really interested in hearing about.
Well, cool. Thanks. I'm honored. I thought it might have been a typo whenever you asked me, because I'm definitely not a percussionist, but I appreciate all that percussion brings to the ensemble, and I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, that's a good position to have, because we certainly will talk a little bit about percussion as we go through and kind of hear your story. So,
of course.
Just right off the bat, that we like to just ask people to just give us their backstory, tell us a little bit about your upbringing, where are you from, and what sparked your interest in music originally.
Yeah, I grew up in a really musical home. My mother is a flute player. She was an all-state flute player back in the day, so there was always flute happening in my house. She played at church. She's also a great piano player. My dad plays guitar. So from an early age, I was listening to a lot of music and hearing it live in the house. And then whenever I think I was 7 or 8 years old, my mom started me in piano lessons with our church piano player. And she really set me on a great path. It was... I was young and I wanted to be an athlete, wanted to be a pro soccer player, wanted to be all these things. And she saw the importance of music in my life. And, I tell people that I actually had a pretty serious drug problem growing up. She drugged me to piano lessons every week. And sorry, our dad jokes a lot on this thing.
They are more than welcome.
Okay.
Sure.
On this podcast. Yes.
Yeah. And so she took me to piano lessons every single week for years and stuck with it all the way through. And so that was the foundation for everything that, I owe so much to that and to my great piano teacher growing up.
You would say that's the root of your musical upbringing?
I would say, yes.
As opposed to the third.
Yeah.
As opposed to the third step, yes, or the 5th.
These are the jokes, guys. These are the jokes.
We're gonna be
you,
here.
you laugh or you don't.
Yeah, you laugh or you don't. 100%.
We're going to be here all night long. We're never going to get through these questions.
No, it was good. It was good. And so then started playing trumpet whenever I was in 6th grade. Wanted to be a percussionist.
As many do.
As many do. And in my band program, little band program in Red Oak, Texas, it's a great big band program now. Back then, we were just a bunch of country kids, and we didn't even start percussionists in 6th grade.
Wow.
It was only just a handful of instruments that they started in 6th grade, and then in 7th grade they shifted kids to different instruments. And after playing trumpet through 6th grade, I was on the list to move to percussion in 7th grade, and I thought, no, I think I want to stick with the trumpet. So I was a percussionist, was my first love, and then went to the trumpet.
Moved to trumpet.
I think it's going to be a common theme through the season, too. Every wind guy wants to be a drummer.
Yes. Yeah. Been hearing all these great percussionists on your podcast, and that wasn't me, but that's awesome.
Yeah. It was good.
So growing up in Red Oak, what was that like, and what was life like?
Yeah,
A few miles south of us here.
Yeah, it was great. It was a small town, and we kind of had a small town band program. Keith Call was my band director at the high school level. Michael Ganis was my director at the middle school level. Michael's now traveling the world. He teaches band in Seoul, South Korea.
That's right. We met him at TMEA last year.
Yeah, super amazing guy, and spreading music education to all corners of the world, literally. And so they set me up with a good foundation in music education. And one of the cool things that I really appreciate about both of them was just, we just enjoyed the music making process. We definitely were not like overly competitive in any stretch of the imagination. And I didn't really have experience with like all region band or all city band or district, any of those things. We would go to UIL and then we'd go do a party afterwards, and it was fun being in band, and I learned a lot about just how, because growing up being a piano player, I was obviously just focusing on the singular aspect of being a single performer. I didn't do any accompanying. I didn't play at church really that much. It was just always just about the recital. And so then coming into band, it was like this first experience with ensemble and other kids that were playing along with me, and it was just fun. Just had a great time with it. And I actually was going to go to school to be an engineer because I wanted to make a lot of money. And I was excited about that. I was good at math and good at science and stuff. And so it was like, all right, well, I'm going to go to school at Texas Tech, and I'm going to study engineering, but I still want to keep this band thing going. So I'm going to do the Going Band from Raiderland in March and go to all the football games and all that kind of stuff. And realized really quickly that I did not love engineering or math or science. I liked it and I was good at it, but I didn't love it. Right. And my dad had taught me all the way through growing up was like, the old saying is if you have a job that you love, you don't work a day in your life, sort of a thing. Right. And just do what you love. And I really quickly, early on into my time at Tech, I was like, man, I do not love this. I just don't love this. I was trying to make myself fall in love with it. And it was like, man, I just want to go to the band hall. I just want to hang and play music with all my guys, and made a huge, shocking switch in my path there in my very first semester at Tech to be a music major.
And not to cut off your story going into Tech, because we're about to talk about that, but before we leave the Red Oak conversation, it was really important that you were there because you ended up meeting someone pretty important in your life as part of the Red Oak band.
Yeah, fair to high importance. No. Yeah, in 6th grade, I actually sat next to this really cute girl who was also a trumpet player, and we were competitors head to head, and on trumpet all through our time at Red Oak, and then started dating as juniors in high school. She beat me out for drum major of the Red Oak Mighty Hawk Band.
Still haven't let that one go, have you?
It came up at dinner just the other night. I'm not going to lie. And so met my wife, Candace, in band in 6th grade. And that's one of my favorite stories to tell to beginning, 6th grade beginners whenever I'm teaching beginning classes, And it's like, you never know who you're sitting next to, you might end up marrying them.
That always makes them feel kind of awkward.
And it's always the little girls are like, oh, and then there's always the little chubby guy on the end who's like, please let this be, So, yeah, it's good. It's great. We both went to Texas Tech together, and I bought, actually my parents bought for me a brand new Ford pickup truck to go to Texas Tech.
Wow.
And I was really proud of it. It's bright yellow Ford Ranger. You drive a Ranger?
I do drive a Ranger.
Yep.
Not bright yellow, but
Not bright yellow.
Ranger.
And I remember going to the dealership to buy that truck to go to school. And the salesman there, he was talking about, I was like, yeah, I'm buying this to go out to Texas Tech. And he's like, wow, cool, man. That's going to be really fun. And we talked for a minute. He said, did you have a girlfriend? And I was like, yeah. It's like, is she going with you to Texas Tech? And I was like, yeah, actually, we are going together to Texas Tech. And he goes, like taking sand to the beach, man. Like taking sand to the beach. And we were looking at him like, what? But hey, we made
This
it.
might not be
We
the
made
best
it.
sales tactic.
We made. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he's going for there, but
This is a little strange. I like
I'll have
it.
to look that one up.
yeah, yeah. It was
You want
good.
to ask the next question, Shannon?
Sure. So we started kind of into it.
Uh-huh.
Your time at Texas Tech,
Yeah.
changing majors, the going band. Talk to us a little bit about that.
I met some super influential people in my life, in my musical life, in my personal life, my career, everything, at Texas Tech. And I'd say, God's hand has been absolutely evident in my life in this pathway that I've been on, like from the beginning. And it's just been really, really clear. And one of those clear spots is whenever had decided that I wanted to be a music major. And it's like, it's kind of like embarrassing to even think about how it all went down now, knowing like shepherding kids that are graduating high school into colleges and into major universities and helping them get those spots, those coveted spots in music schools, and then looking about how I got in. It's just it can only be God's hand, or it's a huge joke, because I was an engineering major, and I remember I just decided one day that I wanted to be a music major, not knowing that there's auditions start to this in like February of the year before, and it's really intensive, and there's only a few spots. And so I went down to Will Strider's office, the trumpet professor at Texas Tech. Great trumpet professor, player, performer, teacher, man, awesome guy. Love him. And I went down and knocked on his door, just kind of brash with ignorance and stupidity, just knocked on the door and said, hey, I want to be a music major, so how do I sign up to do that? And he looked at me, kind of looked, he always had this smile on his face, and he looked at me and he was like, okay, well, are you playing your trumpet a lot? And I was an engineering major, so I was like, yeah, I play in going band every single day. That's my playing as I play in march. He's like, so you just play in marching band? I was like, yeah. And he goes, okay, so do you have something that you want to play for me? I was like, I hadn't even thought that through. He was going to ask me to play. I was stupid. And I was like, you know what? No, I don't actually have any of my music with me. This is just my trumpet, my gig bag, and so, no, I don't have anything with me. And he goes, okay. What was the last solo that you played, like, in high school? I was like, it was a French, like, kind of obscure piece. I thought, it's a Poteet piece, Concertante Buble. I don't have it, though. Otherwise, I'd be happy to play it for you. And he's like, you know what? He walks over to a file folder. Of course, he's a trumpet professor. You know, he pulls out the filing cabinet, and he's, yeah. Oh, what do you know? I have it right here. All right, okay. Well, you want me to play it like right now? He's like, yeah, let's do it right now.
What you got, Newman?
Yeah, pretty much. And I think he was. I don't know. I have no idea what it sounded like that day, but I put the music there and fired it up and played it. And whenever I got done playing it, he just kind of looked at me, kind of crossed his arms. And, okay. Monday night is our master classes. I'll see you there. I was like, okay, cool. I'll see you there then. All right, goodbye. No, just total complete, dummy. And so I came every Monday night for the rest of the semester. I couldn't change my major until the spring. So I continued my engineering and started coming to all the trumpet things that I could come to. And then he graciously allowed me to jump into the studio at the semester in January, and then off we went.
Wow.
So that's freshman year?
That's my freshman year. Yeah, that was probably like September. I mean, I'd probably been at school 3 or 4 weeks before I decided that this engineering thing.
You have to send a fax to your mom and dad, letting them know you're going to change majors. How did that work?
Yeah. Rotary phone. And, yeah. They were really cool with it though, because I mean, I explained to them that, you know, Dad always told me that you need to do something that you love. And I love this. I want to do it. Okay, go for it. Yeah. So they were really supportive.
So going forward, what was the experience at Tech like after that?
It was great. I was definitely a little fish in a really big pond, and I didn't know what I didn't know, kind of a thing. Like I had never taken private lessons when I was in high school. I never had auditioned for an all-region band. I didn't even know what the process was. I learned what that process was whenever I was in college, when I went and observed it, went and saw what high school kids, like, it was my high school program we just didn't do any of that stuff. Yeah. And so I thought I was pretty good whenever I was in high school, and then I came to Tech, and there's, you know, master's students and doctoral students on trumpet that are going and taking major auditions, major gigs all over the country. And it was like an eye-opening experience for me, and I learned like how to practice. I learned the power of repetition, and I learned that tenacity and that drive and that determination that it takes. But I was starting at a way lower skill set than I feel like everybody else in the studio. Like I was way down here, and so I had to really dig deep to constantly just keep trying to catch up to the guys that were already way ahead of me. I was in school with guys that, you know, they're in Mr. Clardy's band from the Colony, and they've just won honor band, and they're in state marching contest finals, and those trumpet players are sitting next to me, and I was friends with those guys. I hear them play, and I hear all the things they know about music and trumpet, and I'm just like, man, I am way out of my league right now. I've got to turn it on. But I'm really appreciative for that, because I feel like that having to do that and having to, like, realizing how far away I was from everybody else and how much it was going to take to get there taught me a lot about just that tenacity and that drive it takes to be good or great.
Well, I think that's a really important lesson for our listeners to hear, is like, not every great band director or not every person who's made a career as a music educator comes from a program that has all of those things and is playing at state marching contest and going to WGI and doing region band and all of these things. But if you're willing to learn and you're willing to put in the work, then it doesn't matter where you come from, as long you can still provide that same great experience for your students.
Yeah, and even it was Will Strider was instrumental in that, because he never,
no pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. He never took his foot off the gas on that. And I remember I was with him once, and he had, like I said, graciously accepted me. I don't think it was deserved at all. He just saw something in me and allowed me to be a part of the team. And I was with him. I had sat in with him observing at a Lubbock Symphony Orchestra gig that he played in. And he invited me to come, and I was watching, listening to rehearsal, and just taking notes on, like, you know, how do I not suck? Like, I've got to get so much better at trumpet. Like, oh man. And I'm watching this all play out. And I thought that I really was trying my hardest, and I thought that I was doing all the things that he was asking of me as teacher to student. But I'd never had a private lesson teacher before, and I'd never had anybody that really pushed me like that before in my life. And so I thought I was upholding my end of the bargain. And we're driving out after the gig was over, late in the evening, and he just pulls over. I was riding with him. He just pulls over his truck in the middle, on the side of the road. I was like, everything okay? And he just looks at me and he goes, why aren't you a Strider purist? And that's what he called his students that followed his plan exactly and met his goals that he had for them. And I was like, I don't know what I think. I think I am, but he's like, you're not. You have so much more that you could be doing.
Yeah.
And it really challenged me, you know, scared me too a little bit. Like, man, this is the end. But he really challenged me to push it to that next level of, you know, coming to my lessons with not just everything ready, but trying to stay a step ahead. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm gonna over prepare, and I'm gonna show you something. I got this next gear. Like, look, I did all this, and so give me some more. Like, what more do you got? Kind of a thing. And after that point, it really, really launched me. So I appreciate him pulling over on the side of the road in Lubbock, Texas, and challenging me, you know?
Nice.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Talk a little bit about the Goin' Band from Raiderland and being a part of that organization, and you got to perform at a lot of bowl games and Ohio State and things like that. Just I always love hearing about your experience in that program.
Yeah, it was awesome. I met another one of my mentors to this day that I stay in touch with. Keith Bearden was the director of the Goin' Band at that time, and he taught me a whole lot about that striving for perfection, about the importance of bringing your best stuff to rehearsal, about coming prepared, about not being late, and made a great, he was my mentor and really became a great friend through that whole process. And then with Texas Tech, we got to go to amazing venues all over the country. Like, we always went to either UT or A&M. We'd go to bowl games all over the country. And I also saw just the importance of like the marching band. I knew being in marching band in high school, I knew how important it was to the school. But then to see it at a whole different level with the Goin' Band and with the investment Texas Tech had in it, and to see how important it was to the actual game, it really just heightened my respect for what marching band is and can be, and really changed my perspective on all of that, which is cool. And I really, really enjoyed the many great times and many friends that I still keep in touch with that are now all over the country from Goin' Band. And it's cool because Goin' Band was like majority non-majors, so there was kids from all over the country that were in it, and then that we were not music majors. They're now doing all different things all over that we get to stay in touch with. So
That's cool.
it was an awesome experience. I always highly recommend our students when they graduate from the Forney Band or from my time at the Poteet Band is always do college marching band. It's an experience like nothing else, and you will not regret it. Do it.
And then lastly, there's a story you like to tell our students in our community about a really impactful moment when you were at Texas Tech right after 9/11. Would you mind sharing that story with our listeners?
I'd be happy to. This is probably the most memorable moment I had from my entire time in college, but I was on campus when the terrorist attack on September 11th happened, and I was actually in a chemistry class, and I remember coming in, and all the students were just gathered around the TV that was in the corner, and they were just watching kind of history unfolding, and nobody knew what was going on, of course. And you all know what happened on September 11th. I remember going to the music building, and our rehearsal was shockingly canceled because, band, you don't cancel for anything. And it was like, I remember Mr. Bearden posted on the glass there that due to this act of cowardice attack against our country, we will not rehearse today. We will reconvene tomorrow and talk about the path forward. And that next day, September 12th, is really where my story happens. It was powerful because he brought all 400 and something of the students all together. We all sat down, and Mr. Bearden, who's a veteran, talked about what this country means to him. He talked about the importance of preserving this thing we have called freedom in this country, and talked about the pathway forward for us, what he felt like as a country, and then for us right here in Lubbock, Texas, and the Goin' Band. And one of the things that he implemented that day was we were going to play America the Beautiful every single day, like finish our warm-up exercise, and then we were going to play America the Beautiful. And it was an emotional day for the entire country, and for us as students, as there was many students from the New York area, from the DC area, that were directly impacted by this tragedy. And we arced up real quick, and we played America the Beautiful. And I'll never forget it because the Goin' Band rehearsed right on the corner of a very busy area of the campus where there's constant student, pedestrian traffic, and cars driving and buses driving and everything. And American flags up there waving over our rehearsal, and we're playing America the Beautiful. And I mean, just everyone, not a dry eye in the place. Everyone's just crying. And we finished performing that day and put our instruments down, looked around, and the whole campus had just come to a standstill. And people were getting out of their cars and had been listening. and all those that were walking in class had stopped and were listening. Some were crying, and it was just showed me like the power that music can have in all situations, in good and in bad, and the binding, how music can bind people together from all different experiences, from all different places in the world, is the universal language, and how us playing it on that day made a moment that I'll never forget, and I'm sure thousands of other people that were there, that they'll never forget either. It was an awesome moment.
I love hearing that story.
In spite of tragedy, So.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So moving on from Texas Tech and your kind of backstory, you graduate, you're looking for jobs as a assistant band director. Talk a little bit about what that was like. I know you were somewhere very briefly at a middle school maybe, and then before you got to Poteet, what was that journey like?
Yeah, it actually, I student taught at Poteet, but as another one of those God intervention things where I was not, at the time, students at Tech had to student teach within the Lubbock area. And I petitioned because I was marrying that trumpet player that I'd sat next to in 6th grade on. We were getting married that summer, and she was going to go to seminary in Dallas to be a counselor. And so I needed to move to Dallas. And so a lot of persistence and a lot of asking and pleas and pleading, they allowed me to student teach outside of the Lubbock area. And I was like one of the first, and it was like a big deal. And so I was like, man, I'm so appreciative. So they had connections with the great guys at Aledo High School, Joey and Jake. Both Red Raiders, and so I was going to student teach there with them because she was going to go. My wife's going to go to seminary in Fort Worth, and found out it was all set. It was all good to go, and then about a month before school started, maybe not even a month, 3 weeks before school started, she was accepted into Dallas Seminary, and we were going to live on campus there at DTS, and there was just no way to make that drive all the way to Aledo every day. And so I called Texas Tech back. I called my advisor, Dr. Killian, back. God bless you if you listen to this, because I am forever in your debt. When I told her that I needed to just switch my student teaching location, and she said, we've never had anybody teach outside of Lubbock. Now you're asking, I can't believe, and it was like, hang up the phone. It was like,
Throughout your career, have you asked for things and been lucky to get them? Right?
It's God's providence, man. That's the only way. It's the only way this works. And so I was like, I'm in a tight spot. And she called back like 45 minutes later and had a connection with a couple of Red Raiders, Avilio Villarreal at Plano East and Jeffrey D. Jones at Poteet High School. And
you know that guy.
Yeah, know that guy, and know both those awesome guys. And so I said, yeah, I think, look at the map, MapQuest or whatever it was, the new fancy thing back then. And I was like, yeah, let's go to Poteet. And life-changing moment right there, inflection point. And went and student taught at Poteet, was there through an amazing semester there in 2005, where they won a state championship. I was along for the ride on that and got to see Scott Colson and Jeff Jones and Rick Davis and Steve Kath do an incredible job. And then here I was in the spring needing a job, and I got a phone call from a really great guy named Don Kitchens in Plano ISD. And tragically, their assistant director had passed away of breast cancer. Oh, no. And so they needed someone to jump in and join their team for the spring semester in this situation. And I remember going into that interview December 21st, 2005. I'd borrow a suit coat from my dad. I didn't have anything, newly married, didn't have any money. And I needed that job, and I walked in for the interview, and that was the first question. It was like, this is the situation, and she's passed away. Her name was Lori. Kids loved her. She was an amazing teacher, an amazing director. And they asked, this is a situation, if we offer you this position, how will you handle it? And my answer was
tough.
My answer was, I'll be honest, I don't know.
Right.
It's going to be one day at a time and try and do the very best I can for these students that are sitting in front of me that will undoubtedly be in terrible pain from this loss. And so I do not have an answer for you other than I'm going to give it my very best shot.
Wow.
And walked out. They closed the door. They opened the door back up, said, Cody, come back in here. I said, yes. I said, okay, we need you to take this job. I said, okay, let's do it. So spring semester, I learned a whole lot. Man, I learned a whole lot about the relational side of teaching through that semester just because of the tragedy that those students had lived through, and they didn't know that she was sick. She had hidden it. She didn't want any pity. She didn't want anybody to know, and then she was just gone. And so I learned a whole lot about how to take care of kids, how to love kids through all different forms of tragedy and outbursts. And I was this guy that wasn't who they wanted, essentially. So it was challenging for sure. But Don Kitchens and Glenn Lambert was there with me.
Oh, nice.
Shout out to Glenn, another Red Raider. And they were so gracious with me and helped me understand how I could help them and how I could help the students. And we made it through and ended up having a really, really great semester. And about that time, Scott Colson at Poteet High School called me back. I was actually on my way to another interview, and I was driving, and my phone rang, and it was Scott. And he said, I picked up the phone, and I said, hey. And he said, hey, are you on your way to a job interview? I was like, yes. How do you know? And he said, don't take any jobs until you talk to me. I was like, yes, sir. And he called me. I called him back after the interview went down, and he said, yeah, I got a job for you. I need you to take it here. I said, okay, let's do it. So
Nice.
Came on at Poteet High School and was there for 15 amazing years. Great experience there. Great kids, great community, great band community. Mesquite ISD still does support the arts in an amazing way. So really proud of my time there.
So that was fall of 2006?
That was fall of 2006. Yeah, I was there in fall of 2005 as a student teacher, and then came back on staff in 2006.
And in 2007, y'all won another UIL State Marching Championship?
Yep.
What was that like?
It was amazing. It was amazing. I do think that I learned a whole lot. My first year and second year and third year and fourth year teachers, you just kind of like drinking from a fire hose kind of thing. You're just learning so much. And I feel like I learned really quickly that, winning is, it's really fun, but man, it's not everything. Like it's not all it's cracked up to be honest.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was a great experience. It was a great ride. The things that I remember most about those years is not like the winning. It's the kids, it's the experience, it's the growth, it's the challenge, it's the overcoming. Those are things that really impact me most to this day, for sure. And so I think that...
and those are things that happen every year regardless of how you do
absolutely
competitively.
Absolutely, 100%. And it was like, I feel like, we were the defending champions coming into the 2007 season. And of course, we wanted to give it another great shot again and worked super hard for that and accomplished that goal and won again in 2007. And I remember the feeling afterwards. It was like, to me, it was like a little bit like unfulfilling. It was like, this is great. It's cool. It was...
It never feels the way you expect it to.
No, it didn't. I was expecting it to feel a lot more euphoric and a lot more like, top of the mountain sort of a thing. But when it comes down to it, it was like, that really helped me begin the process of learning about the process is far more important than the actual competition, the actual result. The results don't matter. It's the process and the continual growth that happens. And then the result is the byproduct of the quality of the process. And so that was an important lesson for me at that time because, I just, like lots of anybody. You just want to win. Like, yeah, winning's fun. Let's go win. And it was like, no, it's not. And I shouldn't have even thought that way because Scott never talked about winning ever.
Yeah.
Not a single time did he talk about winning and trying to win. It was always about, we always said about beat Poteet. Just be better than Poteet was yesterday. Be better than the individual musicians every single day. And invaluable lesson.
Yeah, it's a huge lesson because when you put all your eggs in the basket of, winning, that you don't really control that in our activity, especially in marching band. So I think that's really a powerful thing for people to take away is just do what you can control, right?
Absolutely.
100%. It's great. I stole this quote from James Clear, Atomic Habits. Like, people don't rise to the level of their goals. They fall to the level of their standards. We talk about that all the time. Like, when we start a marching season, literally every kid in the state of Texas says, we want to be a state champion. That's great. But none of that matters if you don't rehearse like a champion every single day.
Amen. Yeah. And you gotta do it when you don't want to. You gotta do it when it's raining, when it's cold, when it's hot. You gotta do it when all your other friends don't want to. You gotta do it when you yourself, you're just like, oh man, I just want to sleep in. I just, like there's the sign going out my office that it has I stole it from some other great band. Reagan Brumley probably posted it or something, but it was like the picture of the two tables with wants to win, and it's like a huge long line of people and willing to do what winning requires, and it's an empty line,
Yeah.
where it's like that goes back to that focus on just the process. And I would if I was going to make that exactly right for me, I would not even have winning. Winning is not even in the picture. To me, it's about creating great, impactful performances that are life-changing experiences, and that's really the goal. That's what we're really striving for through this whole process. And then sometimes you go to a contest and somebody wins and 35 others or 82 others don't, and
And it's I love that sign in your office because it's always so funny to me how many other situations that applies to.
Yeah.
Other than just making a great marching band show.
Right.
Yeah.
We want to get this thing done. Well, it's going to take this amount of work, and we see other people and they want it to just happen. But we know that we're going to have to do these steps and follow this process and really keep at it constantly to get what we want, whatever it is, whether we're trying to buy something for our kids or change a procedure or improve a procedure. I just love how that applies to so many things other than just winning marching band.
Yeah, and hopefully that's like we're as teachers able to communicate that and ingrain that into our students. So no matter if they're a doctor, a lawyer, an entrepreneur, a homemaker, a pastor, a teacher, any industry, anything that they do the rest of their life, I feel like this process that we're talking about can be applied to improve their situation. And it's so much more important than any trophy, medal.
Yeah, being great at anything requires sacrifice.
Correct.
And when I use the term transferable skills. That's the most important thing we can give our students is the drive, discipline, motivation that it takes to do this activity well, but transfer to any activity or any endeavor as they move forward.
Absolutely. Band is a microcosm of reality. It really is. The social interactions, the leadership hierarchies, the growth that's required to advance through, up the bands, up the ensembles, how to deal with disappointment, how to deal with falling short, what do you do after the disappointment and that falling short to develop yourself further, how to deal with the interpersonal relationships that go along with this whole process, because no matter what office you're in, there's going to be people that you agree with, that you disagree with, and how are you going to learn how to process those things? And doing that in like our care as music educators is vitally important, because that's a skill. It's a skill that is lost in the current generations, where you see something that you disagree with and you just swipe away from it.
Right.
I just don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. I'm just going to block it. But in reality, you have to deal with it. And not dealing with those things is it's a big problem that we're going to have to overcome as a society.
This is not exactly related, but I love the Dave Chappelle quote. He's like, I don't really care what they say about me on Twitter, because Twitter's not a real place. It's not real. It doesn't exist.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Well,
Anytime you can put a Dave Chappelle quote in, you know it's going well.
Yeah.
he would be a great person to get on the podcast.
We'll work on that.
We'll work on him.
We'll work on that.
Well, we're going to stay on Poteet just for a little bit.
Yeah.
You were an assistant there for how many years before you became a head director there?
Let's see. I was an assistant until spring of 2011. So like 5 years, and then became head director in 2011.
And what was the mindset? What did you have to do to prepare yourself to go into that role? How was that different than being an assistant?
Oh, man. I did learn. It was challenging. It was very, very challenging. I taught for 5 years, and Poteet was at a point in that program's, like, they were good, so good for so long. And Scott is my mentor and great friend, and so it was very challenging to take over. They just finished first, third, one honor band, Southern flag,
Right.
and so it was a daunting task to take over after that level of success. And it really shaped me a lot, I would say, I learned a lot about how to not do it. I would say that a way I can explain it, where it was, I just felt like I put so much of it on my own shoulders and cared too much about the results and cared too much about, that was what I had seen. And so I learned a lot about how to balance those things my early years as head director there. But I had an amazing team there with Tish Downs as an assistant, and then Wiley Gore was one of my assistants. Steve Kath's percussion director, still is the percussion director there.
We love Steve.
Yeah, awesome dude, great teacher, passionate educator. So we had an awesome team there that kept the tradition alive, I would say, at Poteet High School for many years, and had many great groups, awesome kids came through the doors there.
And Tish and Steve both went there. Is that correct?
That's right. They're both alumni. Yeah.
That's really powerful when you have that connection.
Yeah, and Tish is now the head director. She followed me there followed me as head director, and I could not be more proud of her and the work that she's doing. It's a great legacy of success in that program, and it's very personal to her, as it was to me, to maintain that and to build upon that, and she's doing amazing work.
That's awesome. Well, shout out Poteet High School.
There you go.
They're great friends of the Forney Band program. And
Absolutely.
Great hosts. They host a lot of our UIL events, and we always love getting to chat it up with them and see all the great things they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's a great segue to watch a little bit of Poteet Band.
Let's do it.
That's okay with you? So
Sure.
We're going to watch a little bit of 2017. And can you just kind of preface this a little bit and give our listeners kind of what was the show, what was this year, what were some of your goals, and just kind of intro this show for us.
Yeah, this year was another really big inflection point in my career. I feel like as I had honestly come to a point in my career where I don't think I was very balanced or healthy in the way I was being a head band director and a husband and a father. And it was really a really challenging time leading up to this year as to how to balance all that. I had a young family, and I read a really important book that helped me understand from a super successful Olympian's perspective on how to be successful and how to manage a lot of these things. His name's Lanny Basham, lives in Louisville, Texas. Got to meet him, got to work with him, and helped me reframe a lot of things about my teaching. And I feel like saved my career, because I was going into a lot darker place. and helped put me on a trajectory of positive reinforcement and focusing on the things that will help us be successful, and goal setting, and really, really delving in deep into the process of what it takes to be successful. Once again, refocusing me on that, which then led to this marching show. And it all happened right at the beginning of this marching season. And this show is called Life in Reverse, and it's got Elsa's procession in there, some Wagner and some Tchaikovsky. It's got an amazing group of students that took this whole new way of doing band. I felt like it was that big of a shift. It was almost like the old me and the new me.
Wow.
This season. And they took it and I really trusted me and trusted the team and in it. And I think it's one of my most proud. Every group has things to be proud of, and students that were amazing and amazing stories. But this one just kind of sticks out as one that was a real inflection point from my career.
Very cool. Well, we're going to play it, and we'll have it on the video so we can just kind of live react to it, and you can talk about different spots as we kind of go through it.
Yeah, nice.
So here we go. This is Poteet Band 2017, Life in Reverse.
So the whole concept was taking the events of someone's life and connecting them, telling a story that went from starting at the end and then going backwards. So we open here with Elsa's procession, and it's the wedding, and it's basically tells the story of how these two met and their relationship, but tells it from when they got married and then backtracks.
Who are some of your arrangers and designers on this team?
So Dennis Yinas is my guy. Man, he is brilliant. He's been arranging for me since 2014 to this day. Wow. He's now the director of bands at University of Oregon. He was at UT with Jerry and did great stuff there. Then went to LSU, was the director of a Tiger band, and now he's the head honcho there. Keep your eye on him. He is a special teacher, and he just does this on the side. He just writes this amazing music and arranges it for marching bands. Super gifted. This year, our soloists were wonderful, absolutely amazing players.
Sound great.
Yeah. Really proud of that opening moment, and I can take little credit for it because I remember listening to them play that Elsa's in the beginning of summer band, and it sounded pretty much like that. They were just that strong players.
That's awesome. Yeah, start with a big company front here. Nice little form there in the back. I like the way that Steve had the front ensemble this year, kind of angled out like that.
In, yeah.
Sorry, this is still a percussion podcast, so
keep it going. No problem.
Big guard.
Yeah, James Thomas is my guard director at the time, and he's great at recruiting and getting lots of kids involved in the activity. He has a super talent for that, still does to this day. Scott Colson is a drill writer.
Nice.
Through my entire time at Poteet, he did all the drill for us and was a constant voice in our rehearsals. I'd have him out once a week to come and just make sure we're all on the straight and narrow, you know. He did a great job, I thought also of integrating the percussion into these little moments here with the snares with the trumpets and the bass drums to them and the tenors here with the woodwinds. Kind of really cool color.
And not overdone. Blends well.
Yeah. Bring it back to percussion podcast. You will also notice that one of my tenor players was the oboe soloist.
Oh, wow.
David Evans went to Texas Tech, Red Raider. He music major.
That was a cool sound effect. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Nice. You don't see that very often.
You don't see tenor players
Quad
pick up the oboe.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
often.
Well, as frustrating as it is to make an oboe work, as frustrating as it is to make quads function and not fall apart.
Well, he's
Yeah.
he's one of these guys that I don't take any credit for. He just was super talented and, man, focused on process.
Yeah.
He just worked and worked and worked. And he came to me and said he wanted to, went to Steve first and said he wanted to play in the battery, wanted to play percussion. And then they kind of sheepishly asked me, and I was like, no, there's no way. Because he was he missed the All-State band by one. He was so close to being an All-Stater all 4 years. And I was like, man, David, you are right there. I really just need you to focus on being an incredible oboe player. And he talked me into it, and I learned a valuable lesson right there about, trusting kids, and if they're willing to
Not
work,
putting limits.
Don't put the limit on them. And I said, okay. If I see any dip though in your oboe playing, I'm gonna call it out. And he said, yes, sir. And I never saw a dip.
Wow.
Yeah, he made the All-State band. So,
Nice.
Yep.
That's
playing.
awesome.
Yep. Yeah, Mark McGahee actually helped us with some of the show design on this.
Oh, cool.
I just recalled that. I remember him drawing out that picture of the umbrella there and then saying to me, you see that the umbrella has a significance. You couldn't really see it because it's not a multicam, but the couple that got married at the beginning of the show, they have out in the bottom corner there. But on field, the couple that got married, the bride came down the aisle with a yellow umbrella and kind of used it as a guard prop.
Cool.
And the whole design on that was to make everyone think like, why in the heck would anybody have a yellow umbrella at a wedding?
Right.
But it plays out. It all makes sense here as you move along through here. Yeah, David Evans again on oboe, and Emily Gordon, awesome horn player who really just blossomed as a performer. We all have those students, I think, that are so shy and she was as shy as could be whenever she came. And then if you'd have shown her herself 4 years later playing in the Alamo Dome, solo, mic'd up in front of thousands of people in state marching contest finals, she'd have never believed it.
Right.
But that's one of the cool things I think that we do as music educators is take kids to a place where they never thought they could be, they never thought they could develop as a person in this way, much less a performer, a musician, a player.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There she is again.
I think the music is providing a great backdrop for your inspirational
There it
quotes
is.
here. Keep them coming.
And so right now, if we could zoom in on multicam on what's happening there with the couple, this is like the proposal. So
Oh, nice.
it's raining. She's got the yellow umbrella out, and they go on this walk through, and he proposes to her, and then here it's going to say, she said yes. And here's like the big celebration. So we've gone from the wedding, now we're backing up to the proposal moment. And here is like most bands in this time frame with the shameless Blue Coats tilt knockoff.
Oh, yeah.
Here it comes. And cue Blue Coats.
Wow. Steve Kath, I'll be waiting your music theory analysis of what you did there with the front ensemble.
Yep.
I thought you were going into a shameless use of Marriage of Figaro.
Oh, there's that too.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all been there.
Can't do a wedding show without Marriage of Figaro.
Right. It's in the title.
And here's the Romeo and Juliet.
I love this Romeo and Juliet chorale. It's one of my favorite things
All time.
ever. Because Romeo and Juliet, you hear psh, 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 it's crash cymbals, all stuff. But this right here is gorgeous.
This is, yes, 100%. It's Jesse Morton on flute. I remember one of the judges kind of, we worked so hard because the flutes, the soloists are actually way back there in the props. They're a mile away from everybody. And we didn't have monitors or anything. It was just trust the hands of the drum major way up front. And so that was a really hard listening environment. And then we got to the dome and it's all echoing around. Couldn't be more proud of them. And here comes the yellow umbrella to bring it all together. So the bride, this is back when they meet, and she leaves her umbrella on the park bench. He walks by, he sees the yellow umbrella, chases her down the way there, and that's how they meet, is underneath the yellow umbrella that she forgot on the park bench. Shout out to How I Met Your Mother. Yeah.
Nice. That was extremely well narrated.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Cody Newman, this guy available for hire for all your design needs. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great year. Great teachers on board with that team and awesome students. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for detailing your time at Poteet, and we know that was a really impactful program for you. And
100%.
Just love to hear a little bit more about your time there and what you're able to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Similarly, or maybe kind of related to the Poteet thing, like you're known for being like, how old are you, Cody? Can I ask that?
I am 41.
Most people don't believe that. You look pretty young.
Thank you. Thank you.
I hear that's been
Spread the word.
I hear that's been a thing
It's a podcast.
Yeah, it's a podcast. Well,
Yeah.
maybe 2 people will listen. Maybe.
Yeah.
But I hear there's a story that you were mistaken for a student at your time at Poteet.
Yeah, I was sitting at my desk my first year teaching, and Mesquite ISD had I was so paranoid about looking young, looking like a high school student, because I did look like a high school student. And so I would even, there was a dress code for the students that was like solid colors, and like many school districts have. That was like that was a big deal then. And I remember I bought all striped shirts and all different colored shirts that would not be in dress code for students, just so that people would not think that I was a student. And I was sitting at my desk, and Scott, who was sitting at the desk next to me, just about fell out of his chair laughing his butt off. And I looked over and I was like, what did I miss? And he's just kind of like pointing at the screen of his computer. I gave a look over there, and sure enough, the yearbook teacher had sent an all-call email to the entire faculty. We're putting together the yearbooks, and there's this one last student that we can't find their name anywhere, and it's my picture. And so
You had to be flattered. I would be flattered.
yeah, at the time, I really wasn't flattered. Now, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It's all great. Yeah.
That's
But-
hilarious.
Shout out Candace for giving me that story today.
I assume that's probably where that came from.
I don't
Yeah.
think we're done with the Candace infiltration of the interview.
Oh, great.
But
great.
that was a good start to it. So, all right. Well, we get through. You're at Poteet for almost 14 years.
15, yeah.
15
Yeah,
years. Talk about your transition to coming to work here at Forney. What I know that there were multiple points that you considered it, and what made you finally take the leap in this next step in your career and come over to this side of the Metroplex and join the Forney team.
Yeah, I have to say that, man, I love Poteet, and I loved my time there, and I don't think I was actually, I wasn't ready to leave. Like I could have just kept going, just kept doing my thing at Poteet. But what I lived here in Forney from 2000. I moved here in 2011, and the traffic getting from Forney to Poteet for me wasn't bad because I was leaving at 5-something in the morning. But my wife Candace and all my kids were coming to Mesquite because I wanted my kids to be in my band program, and I knew all these teachers, and I was really invested in the school district. So they were driving to Mesquite every single day. And then my wife would come back home and get herself ready and get the littlest kids ready. And I have 4 kids, and so there was 2 little ones that weren't even in school yet. So then she would then drive them back to Mesquite, Sunnyvale area where she worked. And so my youngest son at the time knew, like 2 hours in the car every morning. And it was just coming to a breaking point for like our family. Like we just couldn't maintain it and keep them in school in Mesquite, and the investment that it was taking longer and longer for me to get there and to get home every single day. And it was just like one of those God points that was like, something's got to change or something's going to break sort of a thing. And this job came open, and it's literally 4 minutes from my house. And there'd been some definite rivalry between Forney and Poteet over the years. And so that was one that I wasn't really interested in considering just because of that, And God just made it overly clear that like this is where you're going to go and this is what you're going to do. And I tried to, I think I'm going to. And it was like, no, you're doing this. And I was blessed with an amazing principal, Dr. Campbell, Jonathan Campbell, who we really hit it off right from the very beginning. This is in the height of COVID. This is in April of 2020. And so these are all virtual interviews. And I like I said, I have 4 kids, and it was too crazy in my house. And so I had to go sit out in my driveway in my car to do the interviews because it was too loud and wild. You couldn't go anywhere then. Everything was shut down. So that was actually what actually made it even more difficult to leave, to make the decision, because I really couldn't properly say goodbye to all my students and parents and staff members, faculty, all of it. It was definitely like a really challenging way to leave this place that I've loved for all these years. Not ideal for sure, but it was God's timing.
Yeah, for sure.
It was time to do it.
I remember being on we had our faculty Zoom meetings, every week, and I remember being on the Zoom meeting where they announced you as the new director of bands, and I had no idea, what was going on, and we had an interim director for a majority of the semester, and I remember getting off one Zoom meeting and hopping on another Zoom meeting with Dr. Campbell and Mr. Luna, our fine arts director, and Miss Erin Funk, who's still with us as an assistant director, and being equally excited but also like confused. And so it was really it was assuring to know as we began our talks about the upcoming year, just the excitement just continued to grow, and the anticipation continued to grow as we awaited your arrival. And we've had we'll talk about some great times we've had, but it's just been a really, really awesome journey to be on the same team as you over the last going on 5 years now.
Yeah.
Going on year 5.
We're going to year 5 now. Yep. And you mentioned Mr. Luna, our fine arts director. Great. The whole conversation of me even coming here started in his driveway, because we lived in the same neighborhood. During COVID, of course, we couldn't actually meet in person anywhere, and it was like, hey, you know where I live, just come over to my driveway. And we stood out in his driveway.
6 feet apart, I'm sure.
Yeah, something like that. I had to, 10 o'clock at night, just shooting the breeze, talking about what could happen. So, pretty wild.
Well, we won't do any spoilers because we're going to talk about what happened. But
right.
Shannon, you want to ask the next?
Sure. Yeah.
Question
Can
here?
you talk to us a little bit about your vision for a successful, enriching band program, and what are some of the steps that you've taken to work towards achieving this, as well as any obstacles or barriers that have gotten in the way of that?
Yeah, I think that, starting with the last question, like there's obstacles and barriers every day, like every minute of every single day. Like if you're going to do anything that's of value, anything that's important, then there's going to absolutely be constant obstacles, it seems. And you just have to have that tenacity and that grit that we've already talked about to overcome those. But
willing to do what it takes.
Yeah,
to win.
That's right. But to me, like a successful band program is a place where students come to learn the skills that will help them be successful in no matter what avenue they choose for the rest of their life. And we're teaching them skills like you've already mentioned, Shannon, about discipline, dedication, tenacity, repetition, how to practice, how to be a teammate, how to be a leader, how to be a follower when it's required, how to deal with what it's like to be disciplined, how to respond from that, how to overcome adversity, how to see things in the future that you want to set as goals, and how to set a process to achieve those goals, and then how to trade up that goal before you get to it to an even better goal that you might not have thought you could even have attained whenever you set the first goal,
Yeah.
And so to create a place where students are challenged daily, there's high rigor, there's high demand, but there's also an understanding between the director and the students, the director team and the students, that when you fail, we're going to be here to help you learn the steps to dust yourself off, and this is now your pathway for improvement. I think that learning how to fail is so important, and that too many students and people just in our society now, it's like if they fail at something, we got to quit it, and we're going to now focus on this activity. Oh, they didn't get what they wanted. Now we're going to focus on this activity, but nothing in life is like that. Mm-hmm. And if you let kids do that and they learn that behavior pattern early on, then they're destined to just be mediocre at lots of things in their life. Yeah. Instead of taking the skills that we're trying to teach them and apply it to whatever you want to be successful. So, that to me is the ideal band program. And inside of that, we have sub-programs that are vitally important, like our percussion program, our winds program, our guard program, our private lesson program that fuels it all, that is the jet fuel to all of it. And then the many ensembles and things that these all overlap to create this tapestry that is a band program.
Yeah. And you touched on it briefly, but we're not going to watch the first marching show that you were a part of, but I think the message of that was, it was called Rise. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting because some of it had already been written prior to you accepting the job. So we wanted to keep what we had written out of laziness, I admit. Me and Shannon spent a lot of time on that opener. Yeah, but it worked out because we turned that kind of into... I think it became the closer, and then we wrote some other things around it. But the whole idea of the show, which was really a pretty competitive marching show, despite there not being a lot of competition and the state of the world and the state of competitions and all the things that were going on. But the message was you can rise up from barriers and obstacles, and you can achieve anything that you put your mind to. So I think that first show was really kind of indicative of this vision that you've created over the last few years.
Yeah. And it's really important to me that every single show has like a central concept that's for the students, that hopefully curated for what they need at that moment as we're trying to sense as directors in their life. I'm really appreciative of Forney ISD. Well, first off, they wanted us to have a marching show, a marching season. Not everybody did that. Yeah. They wanted us to try it, and they trusted us to put a process together that would be safe, a process that would allow the kids to have as close to a real marching season experience as possible. And so we went for it. And I think that I learned a lot of really important things that semester. One is that, every day is important, and every day should be valued for what it is, for that, there was kind of a joke that year when you'd come in and we'd get to teach a day of marching band, and it was like, well, who knows if we'll get to do this tomorrow, if they're going to shut everything down again and we'll have to go back to quarantining. And so it was just really thankful to just each day to come in the band hall a new rejuvenated, man, I'm just glad to be able to just come and do this. I just feel great.
Your mask. Oh, I'm so glad to be able
to do this. Whatever it took.
Kids' temperature.
Yeah. Temperature, hand sanitizer, masking. Let's not even go into all that.
Let's not rehash all that.
I'll get annoyed pretty quick.
Yeah.
So.
But the other cool thing that I really appreciate about that year was that there was no competition, really.
Yeah.
And that made it really cool because
it's freeing.
It was totally freeing, and there was no pressure. It was just okay, this is my vision and my idea about what we can do with this band program. This is the concepts, the core leadership concepts, the core cultural concepts that we want to implement, that were already really thriving in the percussion department, but needed to be implemented and massaged and grown in the rest of the program. And so that gave me the opportunity, I feel to just really go all in on building the culture and building the concepts and building the processes. And then through that process, I was like, why don't we just do this every year, always? Why do we even...
Why do we need a global pandemic to do it?
It was really freeing, and that really has, I feel like, allowed me to be free of a lot of that since then. It's like, yeah, we're gonna go to some competitions and stuff. It's gonna happen. It's gonna be cool, but we're gonna focus on the culture of the program. We're gonna focus on building each other up. We're gonna focus on the leadership structure and how we communicate within each other and the organization in a healthy way to create something that's an awesome experience for you to be a part of, regardless of whatever competitions are coming.
Yeah.
They'll come and they'll go. It'll be a Saturday, and then we'll come back to rehearsal. And Shannon and I talk a whole lot about how our passion for rehearsal.
Yeah.
And I know, Riley, you share this passion. It's like, I mean, honestly, if it was just like we could just do rehearsal all week,
That'd be great.
I don't even really need the competition.
I don't really need that 14-hour day at the end of the week,
No.
to be
Right,
honest.
I'm just a rehearsal junkie. Like, I just love the rehearsal process.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Side note, one thing that I loved about that year was playing at the JV football games on Thursday nights instead of going through a 3-hour away game. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, that
one of the several.
There was a couple perks, to be honest.
That was cool. That was cool. So for those that weren't aware of what was going on here, it was like we nobody was traveling, of course, and so I still wanted to get the kids as many performances as possible. The JV football game is the Thursday night of a Friday away game, so we had a home crowd on Thursday night. It was like, Forney ISD just let us.
Yeah.
Well, let's just do a show. So we got to do every week. We got to do a show.
It was pretty much like a glorified rehearsal, and then we would just move over to we wouldn't really play in the stands. We got to like rehearse right up until the performance. It was get the kids revved up, and then we just went in, and it was really like a contest almost. It felt like a contest.
Yeah, we do warm up, walk in the stadium, do the show. The home crowd enjoyed it every single week. It was really great.
Yeah.
And then we went home.
Then we went home.
That's the important part.
I'm not going to forget how great that was. I'm going to
and a Friday night off. And a Friday night off.
I know.
Cheering our jackrabbits from our couches. But
Yep.
Well, awesome. Well, thanks for kind of introing that, and we're going to keep talking about the Forney band and some of the other years. But my next question I want you to talk about is just, you're extremely humble, more humble than I think you need to be at times, and you every chance you get to deflect from the fact that you are the head band director, you are the director of bands, but your view of your role as a leader, I think is really unique, and I think a lot of people would benefit from hearing it. So how do you view your role as the director of bands, and how do you galvanize the staff and the students and the community members to work towards the common goal under your leadership?
Well, I think that my job can best be described as like empowerment, but not of me, but of others. And I want to create like an environment and a culture where Riley Warren can be the very best version of Riley Warren for his students as possible. Because if you're the very best for your students, then your students are getting a much higher level experience. Best Shannon Jacobs that we can create. Okay, the environment to let you do the thing that you do and you're passionate about. And you guys have passion and fire for teaching your students. And so anything I can do to eliminate obstacles, as many financial obstacles, and we got to fundraise to get this so you guys can have these things that you need to go to Chicago, to go to Indianapolis, to the new equipment, more help, more hands on deck. If you guys say that you need it, I trust you that you really do need it, and I trust that the result is going to be better experience, higher quality experience for our students. So it's simple to me. It's just try and clear the obstacles and try and give you everything that you need to be successful. And same thing, on the wind side, we have Aaron Funk and we have Ben Underbrink, who are just monster teachers. Nobody come trying to hire them, though. I need them to stay at Forney High School because I love them to death. Now,
hire them to clinic your band. Or do an all region.
They're just monster teachers, and so I want to just find ways to help them grow and empower them and give them all the things that they need, and I can to make them be as successful as possible and help them be as successful as possible. And in turn, the benefit is in the students, you know? And so I also feel that way about our booster organization. And we have amazing parents that are they sacrifice so much of their time. And so it's as much as I can do to help our booster organization be a great place for parents to plug in, because along with helping our students be more successful, they're creating relationships across parents that, and I've seen in the course of my career that there's been band parents that I'm still very, very close to from years and years ago, that we still go do things together and hunt together and fish together and all kinds of things that you create those awesome relationships from creating a great environment there. And then in my guard department, I got Casey Sneed, who's been here, I think about the same amount of time as you.
The same time, yeah.
About 18 years or something like that.
That sounds about right.
And he's
Hey, you asked him how old he was, so he can make a comment about.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, there you
There
go.
it is.
Turnabout.
But Casey just does amazing things for our band program as the color guard director and coordinating that on all levels. And then he is also our drill writer, and he does choreography for us in addition to running his own super successful drill design business that's just taken off. If you need drill or choreography, talk to Casey Sneed. He is
Or
the man.
a marching band trailer.
Yeah.
No joke.
Yeah.
Dude is so talented. So I don't know. I when I came here, I looked at the pieces of the puzzle that were already here, and it was honestly just like an embarrassment of riches. I mean, really, I'm just totally honest. Like, look at you guys, and it's like, golly, I just need to find a way to give them what they need to be successful and not allow my own desires or ego or whatever to stifle that in any way. Like, what can we do to just make it be on fire? And so it's been fun. Percussion department here is pretty dang solid.
We like to think
Pretty
so.
dang solid.
We certainly
Yeah.
work hard, and you know, but seriously, it does not go without saying, like, your influence and your vision and your desire for it to be great is 100% a huge part of that. And so
Cool.
we're very thankful for you. And you know, you talk about coming here and everything is already so good, but I have to say, man, like, you know, you filled a void for me professionally in that I've had great mentors throughout the time, you know, that I've been involved in music, but I really never had someone that I worked for so closely that was able to kind of take things that I kind of thought were the right way, but really put them in a good frame in words. And I just really value the conversations that we get to have, and your guidance for me professionally, and I know that's shared amongst our whole staff. So
cool.
From
I
the bottom of my
appreciate
heart, yeah, really appreciate you being on our team.
Appreciate that. Yeah, cool. It's been a fun ride, and it's just getting better and better.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Who knows what's next? Something.
Sky's the limit, I feel. It's
Something's-
just these kids just keep on raising the bar. It's been really fun. Mr. Floyd is one of my great mentors. And that's the other thing, anybody that's listening, if you don't have a mentor, get one. If you can get more than one, get more than one.
Yeah.
Get people that know more than you, that will invest in you and will believe in you. Because I've got a whole bunch of people that have helped me through my career and shaped me, from Scott Colson to Tom Shine to Richard Floyd, and Frank Troika's come on board and been a really great member of our team as of the last few years. Dan Morrison is one of my great friends, and he's been just so influential. And that's just, I'd be remiss if I'm just going to miss some people, but there's been so many that have helped me. And it's great to have somebody that's going to challenge you and can tell you honestly. And that's one of the things that I feel like I did right in my career, is that whenever I found somebody that would come to help me, I would just tell them, like, you're not gonna hurt my feelings. I need you to just I want brutal honesty. I just want you to just tell me exactly what it is. I got a thick skin, and I just want it to be better, because I know if I do better, then the kids are gonna be better, their experience is gonna be better, so just lay it on me. Well, all right, here we go.
Get your notepad out.
But that's part of it. Whenever you want to get better, is you got to be challenged.
Yeah.
And we want to challenge our students. So I feel like I got to constantly have somebody that's going to challenge me and push me. So
Yeah, it works both ways for sure.
absolutely.
Well, we're going to keep going talking about your time at Forney and a really awesome show that we're actually gonna watch and kind of talk about while we're watching it is our 2021 UIL State Marching Band Contest finals performance of Flight of Song. And you talked about every show having a message, and this is one over the last few years that I think, of all the ones we've done, I think this one, and then the show we did last year, which we're also going to watch, I think these two have had the strongest message and the strongest impact. So can you just talk a little bit about, kind of preface Flight of Song, what was the genesis of this, and kind of what was the show about?
Yeah, Flight of Song was actually the title of all things was Andy Toth, another great friend of the Forney Band program. He and I were in my truck together riding back to the airport after a visit, and we were talking about, of all things, he was asking me about hunting. I'm a big outdoorsman, hunter, fisherman, hiking, camping, all that kind of stuff. And he was asking me some questions about asked a question about bow hunting, and I said, yeah, something about, and it's so cool when you release that arrow, it's like the mystical flight of the arrow. And he kind of looked at me like, that could be a marching show, mystical flight of the arrow. And then his wheels started turning, and my wheels started turning. And that kind of kicked off this whole bow and arrow sort of idea of a marching show. And I found this poem by Longfellow that's a really well-known poem that basically it talks about your words, and your words being either arrows or songs, and how lifelong your words can last with people in both formats. It can be those hurtful words that you can think of somebody that said something hurtful to you to this day. It can still make you mad or make you upset, change your emotion at that moment when you think about what that person said to you. But you can also, on the other side, think about something that somebody spoke into you that positively impacted you and how important those words were. So the whole poem was about words being either arrows or songs. And so then we combined it, and it became Flight of Song with some great music. And
Some Mackie?
Yeah. What all did we have in that, guys? We had Mackie. We had the
Kingfishers?
So that's what it was. It was the Kingfishers in there, which is really cool. We had the Elgar Nimrod.
That's right.
And there was kind of the thread that held it all together. We had Gibson Pegasus.
That's right.
The closer. And then we had Sonoran Desert Holiday, the Ron Nelson.
Yes, that's right.
That's the ballad.
The ballad stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to hear it all
Let's
right
do it.
now. So let's check out some Forney High School 2021 Flight of Song, 8th place at UIL 5A State Marching Contest Finals. And first in the inaugural Content and Design category.
That's correct. Another really cool thing about this show that we made our first BOA finals for the first time in Forney history.
That's right.
And first time in my career ever. I'd never really even done BOA until I came here and got involved in this, and it's been a great experience with Bands of America. And one of the cool things that you'll notice about this show right off the bat is there was a young man in this band named Micah DeFee.
Yes.
Who's in a wheelchair, and kind of caught everybody's eye through the season with his incredible performing abilities from that chair.
Absolutely inspiring.
Yeah, I got lots of calls to come talk, and even wrote an article for Yamaha about this whole experiment about helping Micah be a part of the marching band. And to his credit, he came to me the very first meeting that we had as coming on board the team. He was there, and he said that he wanted to be a part of the marching band show. And I said, yeah, let's get you involved maybe in front ensemble or something. And he looked at me and said, no. And it really was a great example of me, kind of putting some limits on what I perceived a student could do just based upon what it looked like their abilities would be.
Yeah.
And then he just showed us all up. Literally, he just took it to a different level.
Yeah, 1%. A lot of reactions from a lot of people that year saying just, wow, what an overcomer, Just
Yeah.
tenacious, too. Mike is very tenacious.
Yep. His older brother, who was in band and had graduated, built him a peg to hold his trumpet, so that was solid and sturdy, so he could move. And Mr. Sneed and our drill rider, met him out at the field to time how fast he could move from yard line to yard line in his wheelchair. And it became really clear through 2020 when we were allowing him, getting him plugged into the show, that he really had no limitation. He could move as fast as any person on the field could in his chair, and really stole the show. Just became an absolute star.
Such an amazing, uplifting, and inspiring story.
Yeah, it was really cool because there were even students from other bands that had disabilities that reached out to him. We remember one halftime where a girl that was in a wheelchair on the other sideline came over, and they talked in the third quarter about, this is how I do this is how I make this all work. So it was just really inspiring to see him overcome what, many would look at as a disability, but just turned him went from disability to superhero, for so many.
Shout out former Dream Job podcast guest Julie Davila judging percussion here in this performance.
Yeah.
See all the bow and arrows on the field.
Marimba player, they're doing a flip right up front, right?
That's right. Yeah. Jakail Watson.
Jakail Watson with the front flip.
Yeah, I remember hearing the wins throughout this season, and it was cool to really start to hear some of the fundamental things that you had kind of brought over and had really implemented and enforced. And you can start to hear their sound really come to fruition here. And it's just gotten better and better and better every single year.
Yeah. That's been really fun. Nice bass drums.
Yeah, this was a great front ensemble. Love to perform.
Yeah, they did.
And they had this senior class had, and a lot of these kids, they had experienced marching band in COVID.
Yes.
And so this was the year following that.
Yes.
And they just really thrived. And
they were workhorses. They were hungry to really get back into full marching band. They were like so many band kids were around the state. They were just ready to go. And it's like, man, this is fun.
I just had a nightmare flashback of trying to rehearse the quads playing in time with the drums.
Yes.
It's real start at 30 yards away and then get over there,
Yeah.
You have to play in front of the beat and then you have to slow down. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, let's just solve this through geography, and you guys just move closer.
Yes.
Yeah. Get over there.
I give Jeff Osdemore a lot of credit for making that ensemble moment blend together and not fall apart.
Yeah, that opening 6-8 versus 3-4
thing,
was never in the bag.
I like 4-4. I'm a fan.
Yeah. But Jeff Osdemore came and worked with the group, and this is I was frustrated beyond belief with the opening of the show, and that it was just a crapshoot. If it's going to stay together, it's going to tear apart.
Yeah.
Every single time. I tried every trick in the book that I'd had, and Jeff came and he was like, "Oh, pulse pocket here, this, and timing here. Listen to this. Don't play here. Drum major, do this." And it was like, "All right, Jeff, you're good at this. We got it. Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah.
Very good. You fixed it all." And it really, really saved us.
It's pretty locked in after that.
He's a smart man.
Foreshadowing to the 2022 show.
Yeah.
Shout out these soloists. Sarah Ade.
This is Tomoki Miyazaki on flute. I'll come back to Tomoki in a minute. There's Sarah Ade on clarinet. We have Dan Rodriguez on the oboe. And then Caden Stellick, three-time Texas All-State trumpet player. Now performance major SMU.
Go Mustangs.
Yeah, pretty cool. Sarah is at TCU. And
That's right.
Tomo is at a music conservatory in Japan.
Yeah.
Great players, man. Just great players.
Tomo's another story in, in our program. Visually impaired student.
Yeah, so Tomo was not really a part of the marching band. Amazing flute player, perfect pitch, memorized all his music. He could play anything, and he was not doing marching band. He was just concert band only. And I told him that I really wanted him to give it a shot, and he was like, I don't know, not really sure. And yeah, it's a great moment right there. And then I don't want to say coerced him, but it was out of love in my heart, because I knew how much it would help him and how much it would help him grow as a performer and as a musician, as a person, to be a part of the marching band. I said, let's do these solos and let's get you involved in this way. And he agreed. And so he was a featured soloist in 2021 and 2022, legally blind. And one of the coolest moments with him on this is that, of course, didn't think that all the way through, and here we are, we're trying to start some moments with him, and he can't see the drum major for pulse. And before any directors could even solve that problem, his fellow soloists in the ensemble had figured out that they would just tap on his shoulder to provide him some pulse leading into his moments. And then once the group joins him, he's okay. And I was really proud of them for just,
figuring that
out on their own
ownership.
and helping their friend. He's their friend, and he needed some help. And bam, there he was.
Really fun percussion feature. It just happened with all the marimba split parts. It was all really fun to work on.
Here's the Gibson Pegasus stuff. So cool.
Shout out Miss Funk for cleaning up those woodwinds.
Yep.
First year Ben Underbrink on the team.
Yep, Mr. Underbrink on board.
Wordle had not been invented yet, so our friendship had not quite blossomed to what it is today, but...
There's Tomo again. Here comes the Elgar. So one of the cool things I think about the way Dennis Unas arranges for marching band is he's great at just constantly bringing themes back.
Threading the needle throughout the show.
Yeah, it's really woven together well whenever he does it. It's brilliant. One of the cool things also about Mr. Sneed as guard director and one of our drill designer and overall just designer of the show is he's constantly adding things, and added the yellow there, that the final arrow going to the guards in the center, and then couldn't see drum major. Actually, we got permission for our drum major to shoot an actual bow and arrow at our shows
just
about halfway through.
Completely impaled one kid, had to go to a hospital, and
we actually found this. What was it? It was called. It was like bow and arrow tag. It's these big giant foam things on the end. It's a game. You run around and you shoot each other with bows and arrows with these foam things on the end.
We should have played that at Drumathon. That sounds fun.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Sounds dangerous.
We took some precautions in order to make it doable, but ended up shooting the bow and arrow, shooting the arrow off the drum major podium across the group.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, pretty fun.
I remember experimenting with that.
Yes.
Marianne, shoot it here. Okay, that didn't work. Go higher. Not that high. Okay, we're going to attach this ribbon that's going to completely change the flight of aerodynamics. That was kind of
This is where my engineering background came in, because
There's a reason you were an engineer for a little bit.
Yeah, to get the ribbon to fly properly, I took a bottle of mouthpiece sanitizer and cut it open and stuffed the ribbon.
We'll mark that and put that as a sound effect when we really
Yeah,
get this thing going.
Yeah, my engineering background, and took the mouthpiece or sanitizer bottle, stuffed the ribbon in there, put the arrow on, knocked it on the bow, and then shot it, and it came out perfectly. And it was like, there we go. Now, we could not sanitize any mouthpieces for a while after that, so but the arrow flew
Sacrifice.
flawlessly.
We talk about sacrifice on this podcast.
That's right.
So we kind of talked about it a little bit with the ensemble moment at the beginning there, but we work really well as a team kind of when we're doing ensemble rehearsals. But what are some fundamental rehearsal strategies and techniques that you utilize on the marching field, and as well as the concert stage, like for band directors and percussion directors and just educators listening out there that are maybe looking for, hey, how does Team Forney do it? What are some things that we do that really help us create great marching band productions, and as well as, but you can also talk about, some of the things you do for concert season.
The better your concert band is, the better your marching band is going to be, first off.
For sure.
I mean, the better your individual players are at all region and solo contests, the better your marching band is going to be.
Shannon calls that
one hand washing the other. That's what I call it.
Exactly. That's the fundamental. Like, I'm just gonna go right into a whole. I mean, everything that we do is based on a fundamental, and so our fundamental tonal concepts, our fundamental ensemble listening skills, the togetherness of the ensemble spread across it. There's fundamentals that we put in place that we do daily, and combined with visual. That's nothing new to marching band for sure, but I think that we do a good job of taking whatever the challenge is for that year, musically, visually, combination of both, and then plug it into a fundamental concept that we'll do daily, no matter what. And then it's just the repetitions. I mean, there's no secret to it. It's just I think Shannon says it about, like, what you're saying about the number of high quality reps that you have.
I'm all about the essence of quality repetitions, like nothing can replace that. That is where the bread and butter is. That's where all the greatness lies, is how many times you can do it correctly. And as you get better and better throughout the season, that number, that percentage of correct reps goes up, hopefully.
Yeah.
I like to talk about, like, we just had our June camp, and we have the kids up here 8 to 5 for 5 days. For 5 days straight, and that's grown over the years. It used to be 3 days. I know a lot of people, maybe do half days or 9 to 4, and it's just like going into the camp every year. I'm like, oh man, 8 to 5, like that's 40 hours of rehearsal. But I always leave the June camp thinking, like, wow, look how much better we got.
Yeah.
Look how much we learned. Look how much we were able to accomplish, and I never regret the time. Going into it is like, oh, it's kind of daunting, but then you leave and you're like, I can't even count the number of reps we got on all of our exercises and the show music, and there's just no replacement for that.
Yep.
There's no replacement for hard work.
And then just the diligence and like feeling from the ensemble, from the students. Are they really giving these reps everything?
Yeah.
Are they giving 100%, or are they doing what is totally natural for everyone? Is to pull back and reserve. For what? Who knows?
Yeah.
Like, you're just wired, it seems like, as humans, most people, to pull back and, like, not really give it your all, give it enough that is required to get by. And so that's another valuable lesson that just the fundamental concepts of teaching music teaches students is, like, you have to make yourself, drive yourself, find that within yourself to make yourself do it at the highest possible level. And you will not want to, but you have to make yourself, fight against that human nature. And that doing that is an important skill set. That's a skill that you can learn.
Yeah, I talk about this word ardent, like you practice something ardently. It's a word that's not used very much, but it means to do with, like, the intent to make it better.
Yeah.
I say, like, probably 4 times a week to the battery. All right, here we go. We're going to do X, Y, or Z. Let's make sure we pay attention to our intention. How are we going to do this rep? Are we going to do this rep like it's 6:45 in the morning and we're a little bit sleepy, or are we going to do this like it's contest run? Here we go.
Right.
The more reps you can do with the correct intention, then the easier it becomes on whenever it counts.
Right. And then I think that ties right into, like, the investment we have in our leadership team and the culture of leadership in the organization, with an organization this size or any size. Yeah. I think the more investment you have from your top players, your kids that are going to be leaders no matter what. They're either going to lead them away from the concepts and the ideas that you want, or they're going to lead them towards those concepts. They're going to be on your team, or they're going to be against you. That's the harsh reality, is that they're people, and that's what's going to happen. So the more you can help shape that culture of leadership team and leadership inside your organization, the easier it is. It's like what the entire ship is moved by a small rudder. So it might be like a small amount of kids, but if you get the right kids leading in the right direction and they're modeling that ardency, that intent, that intentionality of high intensity reps every single time. Are we perfect at it? Absolutely not. No. It's a constant, like you're constant. I feel like we're more psychologists than teachers half the time.
100%.
Right, yeah.
Is you're trying to push the right buttons in their teenage brains to bring the best out of them in that moment when they don't want to, or they're tired, or their boyfriend or girlfriend just broke up with them, or they're, any laundry list of things that we as music educators see on a daily basis. You're trying to constantly push that button to bring it out, and that's one of the major keys to our success. I feel like we all are thinking about that from that aspect. And it's just so important. It's often overlooked.
Yeah.
It's often overlooked. I think there's too many guys out there, they think, oh, here's the new book, the new technique book. It's got all these lines, it's got all these notes, it's got all these rhythms. That's all they are, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's notes and rhythms.
Yeah.
It's just notes, it's just paper. And so if you have the pedagogical understanding, and then you have the tool, which might be this piece of paper, it might be no knock on any guys that are doing great work with exercises, because we got to have them.
Yeah.
That's a tool that we use. It's this exercise combined with pedagogy, but then that relational understanding as the teacher to the student as to what's going to push the button to help connect those three together.
Yeah.
Right.
And that third one is what so many people, I feel like, just miss out on. They feel like if I just give them these notes and rhythms, give them this exercise, do it again, it's got to be one step farther to really reach those higher levels of achievement.
Yeah. Love it.
Kind of diving in, because I do want to talk about one specific thing you do. Can you talk about your breathing regimen that you use? It's kind of funny if you, out of context, if you walk in the band hall and you're making these sounds,
It's ridiculous,
You
I know.
you might question what's going on, but I think it's a big part of the sound of the winds is attributed to this.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's all just different cobbled together exercises from like breathing gym, and I stole from like watching Carolina Crown do their thing, and Sam Palafian and the breathing gym guys, Pat Sheridan, and finding a way to make it work for high school kids, and then in different ensemble settings. We do it in concert season as well as in marching season. It's a fundamental concept to me. Just I feel like as percussionists, it's like your grip has
Right.
to be right. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how long you practice, you're going to be fighting against yourself
Yeah.
with the fundamental technique. Well, as a wind player, that's the first word of our instrument is wind instrument. And so if you don't learn how to control the body and to relax here and compress from down here, and how to flow that air column through your body and out through the instrument, then you're constantly fighting against yourself as if you had a bad grip.
Yeah.
And so we spend a lot of time on it. I mean, every single day we do not miss breathing, and we're constantly picking on details about how they do it and the way they do it and what it sounds like and what it feels like and how much you're pushing yourself, which was a big change for this program when I got here. 'Cause it was pretty foreign, but I credit those kids in 2020 for just like going all in, just diving in the deep end and like, let's just try all this crazy stuff and these weird things and these weird sounds, and what are you doing, Mr. Newman? And just trust me, give it a shot. And it's made a big impact. And I've actually, the first year that I really tried all these things, I was really 2016. And that was the biggest jump in quality I'd heard in my concert ensemble in the spring. Was after doing it all full throttle in 2016. In the fall, then the 2017 spring, that band sounded completely different, and actually it was an honor band finalist. That very, bam. I credit that the quality of sound we can make towards that success that year.
And can you tell the audience what is Landon game?
Oh man, okay. I have to name our exercises after the students generally that that most despise the exercise. Is it spite? Maybe,
Yes.
but the rest of the kids enjoy it. So, let's see. Land game is a combination of bop, which I think most wind directors will know what bop is, where you just take every note and make it like as short as you can make it with a great tone, no matter of duration of note. And that helps with vertical alignment as you're trying to put complex things together or simple things. It can be just one note, bop it together and see if you can, and they can't until you make them.
Yeah.
So as bop, and then during the 2021 season when we could not get that 3/4 versus 6/8 thing together, I even eliminated the real notes and we did it on concert F. So it was concert F, bop, just play like a snare drum. Just play just the note in time on concert F. And then Landon Coyle was always vociferous about his dislike of this exercise, so it became the Landon game.
Yeah, perfect.
And then everyone loves playing the Landon game, and we still use it. We use it in concert season. We use it, you even use it one-on-one training and on solo work and stuff with a metronome on and Landon game that. Do it. Yeah. And make yourself play it exactly in time on just a concert F. And if you can do that, then we'll add the real notes back in on just call it bop. And then if you do that, then we'll add full duration notes in. And you know what? It's better.
Yeah. I remember walking over to the marching field and hearing y'all say Landon game, and you say it so fast that it sounds like it's a name of someone. Landon game?
Yeah.
Like, oh, this must be some prolific brass wind player, Mr. Landon game. And then I was like, oh, it's Landon game. You finally explained it to me one day, and I was like, oh, it's not what I thought it was at all.
No, I should have kept that going.
Yeah, that would have been great.
He was like a British mid-century natural trumpet
Sounds like
player.
Longfellow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually a great segue to my next question, which is, I've seen you use some like what I would consider like percussion techniques with the wind players. And can you talk to us about some of those? A, what they are, and B, why you find them valuable?
Okay. Well, I'll give you 100% credit. You know where I'm going with this.
Yes.
100% credit for the way that I utilize a metronome now, which I never used before until Shannon Jacobs is yelling at me up on the podium about, hey, you just got to give him a half met, man. You just got to give him a quarter met. You just got to. And I'm like, dude, what are you even talking about? He's like, no, program it to one, it's got to be divisible by 4. And I'm like, dude, what? And so, it's a drum set technique that's used to just wean off of the metronome by taking away every other beat, and then once they can do that without every other beat, then you take away another beat, so they get one beat per measure, and then even less than that if you can. So it's because the metronome can definitely just be an absolute crutch, a debilitating crutch that students cannot perform without it because they don't have the listening skills, the ensemble skills to maintain pulse together.
Yeah.
And so then when you take away that beat, there's that one beat that they got to be in control of. And you take away to quarter met, then there's 3 beats they got to be in control of.
Yep.
And then when they hear it, that met click comes in and it's not exactly aligning with the beat that they've agreed upon with their team, then they got to just push the tempo ever so slightly to maintain it. And now that's honestly, I use more half met and quarter met than full met. I rarely use full met other than just to get it going.
To learn, yeah.
Just very, very early on. Then I just take it away. And I try and tell every group that I work with.
You're giving away our secrets, man.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
I'm all about spreading gospel.
Spread the gospel.
That's right. Yeah, half met, quarter met. We have all of those saved into our tonal energy, so it just all runs on programs, and just flip it over to quarter met, flip it over to one beat every two bars, depending on the time signature. And then what's really great is like when we're putting stuff together like Rocky Point or that we did 2 years ago, or the Bach Toccata and Fugue, or like we did this last year with the Children's March, and especially with pieces where the beat changes, the meter changes constantly, and just adding in a downbeat every once in a while, or adding a 1-3-1-3-1, and then back to just one beat. And if you can rehearse it with your met setup, so that it's got those little crutches in there for you based upon where they're at as performers.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right, I'm taking it away.
Yeah.
You know, and then now we're going to do it with just the downbeats in there, or now we're going to skip a whole, and it weans them off of it instead of just the crash and burn frustration of, I've had a met pulse every single beat, and now you have nothing.
Yep.
Right.
Good luck.
Yeah. Training wheels.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just in case anyone from the Boss organization is listening, I want to make it very clear that Shannon and I are still extremely loyal to the
Dr. B.
Dr. B DB90.
100%.
And doctors in the house.
And
if
when
you-
necessary, we will conform to the tonal energy, and we love tonal energy for many reasons. But we just revived our Long Ranger metronome.
Oh, boy, yeah, we did.
That's been sitting in our office, and
I feel like Dr. Frankenstein, to be honest, when they came. Yeah, that's exactly.
yeah, that's great.
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
That's right.
Yeah.
Side note, I just watched the Gene Wilder Netflix
Yes.
thing last night.
Okay.
The Remembering Gene Wilder, and there's a whole thing on the Young Frankenstein.
Young
Yeah, I
Frankenstein.
can't wait to get into that. Maybe tonight.
It's really good. I recommend it.
Another side note, we talked about like the students being able to like fill that pulse and fill in the gaps. The most extreme version of that is when I was at UTA. John Riley, drum set player, came in and we were playing like these pretty hard swing charts percussion ensemble, and he's like soloing in them. And one of the reps, he's supposed to do like a 32 bar or whatever. He hits one note, pop, and turns around and starts talking to me. I'm counting my reps. Well, yeah, how was your day? And and I'm like, yeah, it's 5. I ate breakfast at 7. And then he talks to someone else. I'm like, I'm really lost. And everyone's confused. He comes back in perfect. Pow! Here it is. I was like, oh man, wow. It was pretty cool. I was like one of those drum set moments that like I was like, wow, the ability to like maintain your discipline, is a really longer process than I think most directors and instructors give their students. Like, well, take the metronome out, do it. They can't.
Yeah.
They can't. But not what they've been given for 6 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. And I feel like that's an area where I've improved a whole lot over the last 4 years is working with you guys, because you guys are so good at that. Your game is so high on that I steal a lot of your tips and techniques and listen. And I can just go and ask you guys like, dude, what do I got to do here? And you guys are always so gracious to like, or probably just frustration. Thank God he asked. You need to do this and this and this and this. God, just fix them, man. But it's great because I'm not a percussionist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, that's
You were going to be.
I was going to be,
and then you changed.
I was opening the door there, but I am envious of the percussionist's ability to hear with clarity, timing.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm working on that. That's like one thing that I'm really working on a lot individually as a conductor.
Yeah.
Is to continue to refine and develop my own internal pulse and timing. You're talking about your drum set experience there.
Yeah.
About that's pretty next level. So.
What other techniques? Because I think there's some other things, from percussion that you've used besides the half met, quarter met kind of training.
Let me think.
I can jump in here. One thing
Yeah.
I've observed you do quite a bit is, which I love because it gets the percussionist involved, is to write out a rhythm sheet for the snare drummers to play in concert band. So if you're working on, I don't know, what did we play for UIL this year?
There was a lot of the complex rhythms in like children's march.
Yeah, Granger
that-
stuff.
The Granger stuff. It's very dense and complex and overlapping. And so I extracted those individual rhythm lines and have the kids play them, landing game, have the kids play them on concert F or clap them or play them with a pencil on their music stand.
That one was, I came in one day, maybe you had been doing this for a couple weeks, and I walk in the band hall in the morning, and like literally the entire woodwind section is cha, 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 like drumming their rhythms on their stands, and I was like,
Yeah. With a half met or quarter met. There was half met or quarter met going on into it.
He almost retired right then and there. Just like, my work here is done.
I've done it. Yeah, no, I thought it was great, and it showed up in the performance. The kids really
It's like-
started to understand the rhythms.
Well, it's like I was striving to get a another level of clarity. And it's like, I'm hearing them play it individually and stuff. It's like, man, the kids sound great. Like the individual quality of sound is exactly what we were striving for. I was like, man, but when they played it together, it was like, just like a little bit fuzzy, unfocused, you know? And it's like, it wasn't the quality of the sound, it was the quality of the alignment of the sound.
Yeah.
And so I just started thinking about what are the things that I can do to help them become aware of their, because they could become comfortable with it, because I'd allowed it.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard it soon enough, so then they became okay with just this little bit of dirt.
So a wideness to the sound.
Yeah, it was together, but not really
Clean.
tight.
Nails
it wasn't
together.
clean,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And so another cool thing that I like to do that we really, when we did the Bach, Toccata, and Fugue, which there's not like really engaging percussion parts through all of that, we had to make a bunch of them, and you guys did a great job as to we created
Fill
a lot of
them
our own
in,
parts,
marimba.
filled in, did some things.
This would blend well with marimba. This part would blend
Yes.
a little better with vibraphone, and
Yes.
that added a lot to the piece.
added so much to it.
So many
And-
letters to Brad Kent about getting approvals. for these.
But one of the
Give us
cool
Brad.
things that because I do not like when percussionists are not involved in rehearsal. I just personally.
They don't mind it, by the way, just sometimes. Just so you
Yeah,
know,
I
it's
know,
okay
but
with
I
them.
just want them to be involved.
Yeah, 100%.
And so it was like just kind of, this was an on the fly one where it was like there's some guys that they weren't playing at the moment, and I said grab your sticks,
Yeah.
because we were trying to the fugue, just trying to get that super lined up in continuity, and it was like, okay, you guys, I want you to drum eighth notes, but only drum eighth notes when you feel some vertical alignment issues, some pulse insecurity. And I want you to go to that section and start drumming. And so then now it like ups the wind players' game, because they're like, oh
Yeah.
crap, I can't have the drummers come over to my section and drum
Yeah,
on my chair.
and the drummers
It's a
are
peer
super excited
pressure.
when they get the call at the wind players. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
They-
exactly.
They go, oh, I'm gonna go jack this clarinet player. They love that.
Yeah, it was cool, and it created a real cool camaraderie. I felt like, because they're pushing each other. The winds are really trying to be like percussive accurate with their timing, in addition to playing Bach. I mean,
Yeah.
a brutally difficult technicality to it, and so that relationship, I felt like, even though the percussionists, those guys did not technically have a part to play.
Yeah.
At that moment, elevated the whole ensemble because of their contribution.
Yeah.
And so I'm really proud of that, about how they were involved in it, and it was really cool. It was a cool moment, and then we
that's
used
great.
it over and over and over.
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing, we wanted the vision for this podcast was to start with what we knew, which is percussion. And we're not going to, we still have some other percussionists that we're going to interview. It's not going to strictly be wind directors, but, one thing as we explore what else could this be, how much more people could we reach, that's one thing I want to try to bridge the gap a little bit, is like, I want people to hear wind directors, band directors, how you utilize percussive pedagogical things in your rehearsal, whether it's the actual percussionist or percussive ideas. I think that's really important, because there's definitely a little bit of a ridge there, a rift sometimes between the band director wants it this way and the percussionists know, oh, it needs to be this way, and they don't work together. But I think that's one thing we're really proud of, is how well our sections work together and complement each other.
Yeah, and I ask you guys, because you guys are the experts, and I feel like your level, like I've already admitted, is that your level of timing and understanding of time is a higher development than I am. And so I constantly want to ask you guys, like, what do you guys feel right there? Does it feel, and it's like, nah, it's the clarinets, or that they're a little behind, or it's like, the saxophones are compressing,
Yeah.
and I'm pushing myself to try and hear those things before you guys tell me too, because I'm striving to hear it that way.
Yeah.
And so it's been a great, I think, between us as professionals, I think, like, pushing ourselves to help all aspects of the group be better because of the percussion techniques.
And it's hard to put the ego aside, but when push comes to shove, it's about the experience of the students. It's
Yeah.
about the product and getting the product to be at the absolute highest level.
Yeah, it's what does Ronald Reagan say? It's amazing the things that can be accomplished when nobody cares who gets the credit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is.
Love that.
Great Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that we've covered my next question.
You
So
kind of have, yeah.
You've got the next one here.
Sure.
Could I ask for? Is there a bathroom break pause that we
Yeah,
can
we
put
can-
in this podcast for just 1 second?
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding.
There's about to be an emergency then.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll pause it real quick and we'll be right back.
I think it's my question here, right? Did we talk about strategy? and all
Yeah.
stuff together?
Cool. So continuing on here with Mr. Shannon Jacobs.
Cody, you have a lovely wife and 4 beautiful children.
Well, 3 beautiful children in Jackson.
Nice.
Sorry, had to get
He
that
deserves
one
it.
in there.
He deserves it.
He's gonna love that part.
He's a drummer. He's a drummer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you share some of your insight onto maintaining a healthy work-life balance in this very difficult profession?
No.
He goes, I suck at it, actually.
It's constant work. It's constant work in like gauging that, kind of walking that tightrope of, you have to do what you have to do to be a good husband and father at home, and you have to have that investment and that time and that commitment to them, and then you also have this job and all these students and their families that are depending on you to do a great job for them. And it's a tightrope, I have to admit. I think my wife is amazing and understanding and awesome and out of my league, and that she gets it. She is our biggest fan, and she loves what we do here for students. And so she understands, but then she also, we have a relationship where she can just tell me, like, you're taking me on a date tonight. It's date night tonight. Like, as soon as we're done with this, guys, we're going on a date tonight,
Nice.
'Cause it's like, she's got a really good thumb on the pulse for that. The other thing that I would say is really important for everyone, no matter how, if you have kids, you don't have kids, whatever relationships you're in, it's that wherever you're at, be 100%. So whenever I'm at work with you guys in rehearsal, like, this rehearsal is 100% the most important thing in my life right now. This podcast that we're doing, I'm 100% here doing this with you guys. And I'm in a rehearsal with these students. I'm doing an all-region band. I'm in front of these all-region students. I'm 100%. This is the only thing happening in the whole world for me right now. But then on the flip side of that is whenever I go home and I'm with my wife, I'm 100% with her. And I have to, make myself turn off that part of my brain that wants to think about that last purchase order that I gotta get knocked out before tomorrow, or I got this email sitting there from this parent, or I got these, I have to really work at it to when I'm with the kids that I'm 100% with them. I'm not gonna check the email. I'm not gonna do band stuff as best possible. Am I good at it? I don't know. I'm trying every single day to be good at it and to work hard at it. It's a skill like anything else, right? So be 100% where you are right then.
Yeah. And I think you can kind of alleviate some of that by, obviously Candace is around. She understands, well, he's going to be in band mode. I just need to be there with him when I can, you know? And she loves it. And we love having Candace around, and we love having all the different spouses around, and your kids are in band, and they're part of it too. And so that hopefully helps a little bit, where it's like you can be kind of in both worlds at once. You can experience it with your kids and your wife, and you can also kind of be in work mode. And that's what makes it really fun.
Well, and that's what I think is kind of one of the big things that I've changed about I won't say change, but I've really come to appreciate over the last 5, 6, 7 years, is that, all this job, this crazy amount of time that takes to be a part of a program like this and do this job, it's not really about, we've already established it's not about the winning, it's not about the trophies, the medals, the resulting, that stuff. It's about the with. Like, I get to do this with Riley and Shannon. I get to do this with my wife, Candace. I can do this with my kids. They get to come and, they're band hall rats a lot of time. They're running around in the band hall after school while I'm finishing up some things, but I get to be with them doing it. And the most important thing about all this is the with. the who you're with, the why you're with them, why it matters.
Yeah.
It really changes your perspective instead of just trying to get this next thing done and just trying to, or frustration with I'm not here. I'm doing it with these amazing people.
Yeah.
You know?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing your insight. That's one thing we've asked on pretty much every single guest from all the way back to season 1, and everyone has a little bit of a different answer, so it's always interesting to hear that perspective.
For sure.
Specifically, different times of the year require different schedules. So how do you and Candace kind of work out, depending on what the year is, what's the expectation for you, and, what is that like?
Candace would quickly clarify that when you said what do we work out, she would say that I work out, meaning Candace does the working out of the schedules.
What she tell you?
We have a pretty impressive Google Calendar going with color coded all kinds of
nice
stuff. Yeah, I have 4 kids, and so my oldest son Jace is a trumpet player, and he's also a soccer player, and he also does piano, and he's into cars, and he's into fishing and all kinds of stuff, and then. My second son, Jackson, he's a percussionist in your program and loves you guys.
Love Jackson.
And he's an athlete for any sport that there's a ball. He plays every sport.
And a Frisbee, I can attest.
Yeah, he's just, so we've got club this and club this and club, and so that's all happening. My 2 younger ones, Jolie and Jensen are 8 and 6, and they're involved in soccer, and they all take piano, and they all have their individual things that they're involved in, and so she schedules it all out, and we have, thank God, my parents live fairly close, 45 minutes away, and then her parents live 30 minutes away or so, and so they'll come by and pick up and take them somewhere sometimes, and then I'll hand off, and it's a pretty elaborate puzzle. That she works out because she's great at it. Yeah, she's amazing.
I just always think it's funny. It's like, I catch you coming out leaving sometimes, and you're like, oh, I'm going to pick up this kid, or I got to bring this kid here, and then we got to come. And it's like it gives me pause, because I'm like, man, I think what I'm dealing with is the most important thing in the world, and I forget sometimes that you have yourself and your wife and 4 amazing children to worry about. So it's always a funny reminder when we have those interactions. So
there's a lot going on, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's great for people to hear, and you're a great example, like some people blame this career on their shortcomings in their personal life so quickly. And, everyone has a different experience, but I think it's inspiring to hear someone like you who, is, leading this program, but also has all of these children and family members that you somehow figure out how to balance. So
well, and I will also say that this career is full of traps. It's full of pits that you can fall into, and one of them to me that I would fall into if it weren't for Candace, is that I love this job. I love doing this. Like I said, I'm a rehearsal junkie. I could stay up here and rehearse band every day until very, very late and be here early in the morning. And I would love almost all of it. I just love being in front of the students and getting better. Yeah. And that can come off as noble and worthy. And I'm not saying it for those that have chosen that for their life, as that's what they want to do. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but to have other relationships in your life, like a spouse and children, that are very, very valuable, I have to constantly guard against that with my time, in that I've just got to find a way to be more efficient in a shorter amount of time, because I will not subtract that from my family.
Yeah.
And if you just establish that as this is what I'm going to do. And we're band directors, we're percussion directors, we're great at solving problems. So now here's my constraints. Here's the time that I have to do this. So now go to work. Figure out how to accomplish the things that need to be done in the amount of time that you have. And am I always successful with it? Not always. No, I'll never claim to be batting 1,000, but trying.
Yeah.
It's like the many iterations of the indoor schedule that I had to kind of put myself through this year. And I shared with you, I was like, please poke holes in this. It's we were up here so much already, and I knew that I needed to make a change going into this next
Yeah.
year. And so I just had to get it all on paper. And I don't know if what we came up with is going to be better, but I know that I'm going to be here one less night per week.
Yep.
You know, and we're going to try it, and we're going to see what happens. And it's not really consistent, but it's the same amount of time, but just kind of spread out differently. And
Yep.
so that's what, you know, sometimes you just got to put pen to paper and write it out and kind of think about what specifically is this going to look like? Am I going to gain back the time that I was missing in my personal life? And am I also going to continue to achieve this activity or whatever it is at the same level? And then sometimes you might have to just say, you know what, we're going to have to just rehearse a little bit differently to achieve the same results so that I can, because if I'm up here 3 or 4 nights a week doing indoor, and of course in band world there's always one other thing, you know, if you have 3 nights doing that, then there's always going to be one more thing that gets filled in on those open days. So, but part of being successful is, you know, having that time to yourself and the time to recharge. If you're
100%.
just because you're up here putting in all those hours doesn't really mean you're getting better. If you are, you know, so exhausted and depleted, exactly.
Yeah, you're not your best.
Yeah.
And I think you nailed it also where you said there's like this fear within all of us of like, okay, I've achieved this. If you've, you know, whatever you've achieved, and if I change it to what's perceived as less, will I still achieve it? And I would say, yes, go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah. Try it.
You'll rise to the occasion. If you really are passionate about it and you're going to dedicate to it, and you're gonna problem solve your way through it. If it's for a worthy cause, I'm not saying like give less to the students just for nothing, for self. No. If it's to be a better you, for your better family, for a better life outside of what we do here at band, then the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Go do it, and then figure it out.
Right.
Because that's why we have so many guys, I feel like, that have dropped out of the profession that are great teachers that are doing other things, because I think it's a little bit of the fear of that. I have to keep doing all these hours and keep doing say yes to all these things all the time, when they could have just said no, done it in a more efficient way, been still very, very successful, but still be impacting kids' lives.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's a tragic catch-22.
Yeah. So that kind of leads into Shannon's next question a little bit.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite hobbies outside of work? What does Cody Newman do when he's not waving a piece of wood?
Anything outdoors. I'm an outdoorsman, avid outdoorsman through and through. We just got back last week from New Mexico. We were fly fishing and hiked to the highest point in New Mexico at 13,100 feet, Wheeler Peak. So we have like an RV, like travel trailer, and so anytime that I can, we load up and we get away and get out on the water, get out in the deer blind, get in the still of morning, get out in the sunset, you know, and see God's creation. That's healing to me. It's like healing to my soul. It's like medicine. It's way better than anything you can get from a prescription, I feel. And it's the times that I get away from that, when we get like too into band, and it's just so many hours here, and I'm not getting that chance to just like be still and quiet and be out in nature. I can feel it in here, and it's like calling, like, you know, what John Muir said, the mountains are calling and I must go. You know, it's true. Like, to me, it's a calling. It's like I just like have to go and decompress from all the pressure, the stress, the time, the emails, the questions, the texts, and just be like,
Yeah.
you know. So that's what I do.
That's awesome.
That's my hobbies, is go.
Well, we just got a couple more here, but I want to make sure we're going to come back to the final Forney High School band show that we're going to watch. I don't want to forget about that, but I want to give you a chance to talk a little bit about some of the other professional affiliations that you have. I know despite all the things you do as a band director, you're still very involved in Texas Music Educators Association, Texas Bandmasters Association. You were one of the inaugural Yamaha 40 under 40 educators.
Second class there.
Second class, and also the most recent Country Music Award, Country Music Award Foundation award recipient. So those are all really great things. Just talk a little bit about what those organizations mean to you, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I think TMEA is the most important organization, one of the most important music organizations in the country, in the world. And I think that the impact that TMEA has on not only on the great professional development and mentoring that it has for music educators on the adult side, but also the impact it has on students across the state of Texas and beyond is immeasurable. And the leadership we've had from Robert Floyd for so many years, just can't go without noting that he has just been so influential. I had the privilege of serving as a region band chair for 6 years, 5 years, 6 years, and got to really learn a lot about the inside aspects of the organization and how it works, what makes it tick. And it's a national treasure, I feel like. It is, and I think that it's easy to just, as music educators, just take it for granted. And it just happens, and all these people volunteer and do all these things, and this convention happens, and the all-state process happens. But there are so many thousands of people that pour their life into it for the students, and it is an absolute class act organization, and I'm proud to be a part of it. Same for Texas Bandmasters Association, and does an incredible job of investing professionally into band directors to make you a better teacher and band director. Very, very important. I'm also in the Texas Music Adjudicators Association and serve on some committees there where you know, we put all this time and effort into going to these contests, you know, UIL contests in the spring, concert sight reading, or in marching band season, our orchestra contests, our choir contests, and just providing high quality training to the adjudicators that will be there to assess what's happening that day, to provide great feedback to the director of that group to help them be a better teacher for their students. So Texas Music Adjudicators Association, very, very important. And then, you know, the CMA thing that we're just awarded, was a shock, super exciting. So from what I've seen so far, the Country Music Association is the real deal when it comes to supporting music educators across the country. I mean, the real deal. Puts their money where their mouth is, so to speak.
Sure.
And there's the country music stars themselves are not just stars, but they're investors in this whole music education initiative that they have. And I don't really know all the ins and outs of it, other than I'm going to get to go experience it in September and be a part of it. So I'm just really excited. It's hugely flattering to be considered, and even more so to be able to go and be a part of it. So pretty
That's
cool.
awesome. And then for Yamaha, you
Yeah,
know, 40
yeah.
under 40. You're ineligible for that award, unfortunately.
I am now
You can't win it
ineligible.
twice.
That was the first question whenever they email me. It's like, when will you turn 40? I'm like, oh, I'm in just under the gun here.
Yeah.
But yeah, Yamaha is for real. They have a music education suite online. If you haven't checked it out, please go do so, where educators from all over the state and all over the country, that is, world,
Yeah.
are submitting their best tips and tricks about everything from recruiting to mental health and health outside of the music classroom, to nuts and bolts, how to make your music ensembles and classrooms better. It's on that Yamaha Music Education Suite. They've asked me to write a few articles for them, and they're on there, and it's been fun to write all of those and be a part of that community. And they've been very, very helpful and encouraging to bring my best ideas and get it out there. And then I read the other things people are writing, and it's like, man, wow, there's just so much great stuff happening around the country that can go unnoticed. So go to Yamaha Music Suite, check it out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Shannon's got one more segment he's going to do with you, but I think before we do that, we're going to kind of put a wrap on the Forney band shows that we've been kind of talking about here. And so this was our most recent marching band show from this last year, called In the Arena. And that's another really powerful message that we kind of attached to this. So why don't you preface this show and tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, it's just based on the famous Man in the Arena speech by the great Teddy Roosevelt. And I think that, like I said, that it's important that all of our marching shows have just like a central theme, concept, message to convey to our audiences, but more importantly to our students to help them for the rest of their life. And the gist of the Man in the Arena speech, if you don't know it, please look it up, because Teddy said it much more eloquently than I am about to. But basically, it talks about how there will always be those in the audience that sneer and mock the person that's in the arena risking it all, that's giving the effort, that's marred by blood, sweat, and tears. And it's basically was an encouragement to our students that through adversity or criticism, that take the risk, go for it, follow your dreams, chase after those things that you desire for your own life, those big picture goals. Go for it.
Yeah. Go for it.
And if there's people that are mocking you or saying you can't do it or whatever, do what Teddy did, right? Yeah. And look at it as encouragement to push beyond what their boundaries that they've placed on you are, because they're not real boundaries.
Yeah.
And then we wrap that in the arena in a Colosseum Roman theme with Roman music and Respighi and Metallica to create this sort of
the great Rome.
Yeah, Rome meets Metallica.
I think one guy was Italian in Metallica. No.
Yeah, we'll look it up. We'll check it
we'll
out.
Fact check. We got fact checkers all over the place.
Is there like a fact check that like
there's
that
a
comes
team.
on the screen as we're saying, like
there's a team.
Total lie. Yeah. No, but it was a great show. It was
4
fun.
Pinocchios on the podcast review. Cool, great. So here's, without further ado, the Forney High School Marching Band, 4th place in the Texas 5A State Marching Contest Finals, performing in the arena. Third place percussion.
The cool things I think about the way that we do our shows and design our shows is how everybody's so involved in the design process.
Yeah.
You know, we don't just hire. There's nothing wrong with hiring just somebody to say, here's the show, here's all the stuff, now do it. But one of the fun things about what we have is that each one of the staff members are really creative and insightful, and it allows us, I think, to create things for the students that have our own sort of unique Forney flavor to it.
Absolutely. No, yeah, like all of our personalities are very evident in the design of the show. You watch the front ensemble and the battery, and you can see me and Shannon's personality there.
100%.
You hear the clarity and the precision of the woodwinds, and you can just, if you know Erin, you know that's her, and the brass, and you and Ben, how you guys bring that out of them, and then the guard and the visual design and the intelligence that Casey puts into that, it's all very evident.
Oh yeah, it's cool. It helps guide us too. Like when we're getting ready for we're designing our show for this coming season, talking with like Andy Toth and Casey Sneed and Dan Morrison about it, and we're talking through concepts, and we get to a concept, and it's kind of like, oh, that feels like Forney. That feels like a Forney band show, which makes it fun. You kind of have your own sort of
investment
energy, that encapsulates all of our character. You know? It's a great moment.
Not a coincidence that this was in 4/4.
Yeah, we learned our lesson there, did we not, guys? Learned our lesson. It's fun to do hard things, but sometimes it's like, don't make it so hard
to yourself.
yourself.
Is the juice worth the squeeze? Gotta pause and hear these drummers throw down on this drum break
Let's
here.
do it.
Yeah.
There's a little accelerondo.
Speaking of juice,
Yes, that was the ask for forgiveness, not permission design decision by me. Seemed to work out.
I would say so.
Marimbas and Xylo on the Seychelles here.
the battery loved this, not when we learned it.
Super athletic, muscular.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never been a part of an organization that won a caption award for visual choreography.
Yeah.
That was new this year.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or a drum set solo
Yeah.
soloist award.
It's amazing.
Every wind player at HEB marching contest, like, come on, you got to be kidding me. Caleb Bowie again on the bassoon.
Yeah, boy is a great player. And what's cool about him, he's like a 2-time All-State bassoon player. And he's not going into music. He's going into computer science, I believe.
Wow.
And he's going to apply all these lessons and allow him to be a great bassoon player into being amazing in that field. I have no doubt.
Yeah.
No
100%.
doubt.
Woodwind's just throwing down here. Woo! Double and triple tonguing there in the brass.
Yep. I think we use some snare stuff behind them at times to get those 16ths. Digga-digga-da-da. 5 right there.
Yep.
It's cool. Dennis, our arranger, he's also a percussionist.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
And so
I often
he
forget
writes with a percussive flair to it in the wind parts, which I enjoy a lot.
I love taking his cues, and a lot of my inspiration and our inspiration for the percussion stuff comes from his original cues. They're often so well thought out that we just kind of stick with the same format that he's created for us and build off of them and add our own little personality to them.
Mm-hmm.
So much physicality in a Forney marching band show.
Yep. Do a lot of PT.
Yes.
Led by Mr. Jacobs every morning at 6:45 in the morning to give these students the ability to do the physicality. But it's fun. It's good. That's another lifelong lesson they need to learn about taking care of their body and pushing themselves physically. Take care of your body takes care of you, so to speak.
Yeah.
Emma Davis on clarinet. Great player. And Caleb again here.
Haven't had a chance to shout out Andrew Worst
I was
yet,
about to say
but
that.
Yeah,
his
his design's so good.
sound design is always just adds the next level. I was telling the students just this last camp, I love hearing what we come up with for our initial idea with percussion and winds, and then I always love sending it off to Andrew, and when we get it back, it's like I didn't think it could get any better, but he always finds a way to just make it even more full and exciting. And
He's the master.
yeah, microphonic designs there.
Yeah, check him out. It's the real deal. When we worked on this, with every technique that we just talked about as far as percussion and infiltrating the winds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, we did it all because this was spread, 20 to 20, 25 to 25, something like that. But then the depth of it from front sideline all the way to the back hash, a little beyond the back hash there.
The drum set kickoff to the battery entrance was a challenge.
Yeah.
You got those garden weasels at Lowe's. Shout out Lowe's. Zach Lewis deconstructed it for our vibraphone players. We're never not going to have garden weasels in any show from here on out. Whirly tubes, we're done with those. But garden weasels.
This is all Andrew here with his awesome soundscape he created here, setting up the battery for this.
And our amazing drum set player,
Jude
Frentress.
rocking and rolling. Dana Nyong'o, the gladiator, fighting Casey Keels, our trombone section leader here. Casey tragically lost this battle every fight. He never won a single one.
Yeah, basses.
You're on bass.
All the batteries, little vignettes there.
They like that part.
That's another spot right there that we land in game and bop the winds
Da, da, da.
over and over.
First battery ever to use the heartbeat visual. Very proud of that. Moving backwards. Battery. Keep in time here. Did a lot of backwards playing.
Yeah, backfield stuff.
Backfield stuff.
Guard really grew just an amazing amount of growth in the guard this one season.
Yeah.
Really, really impressive. Mr. Sneed did just a great job with them.
Turn the faders down here. It's always a good effect. Pseudo piano.
And
Let's
then
go faster.
kick up the
Yeah.
tempo again.
It's always my favorite thing to contribute is tempo changes that were not in the original score.
Can we do it faster? Yes, we can. Let's go. That's one of the cool things, though, I think about what we do, what we like, is just like an exciting presentation, you know? Like
Yeah.
it's just, let's just push the boundaries of what we can do, what the kids can do, to just make it as exciting and exhilarating for the crowd. You know, when it
Yeah,
comes
if we're
down
gonna-
to it, we're all
we're
just
gonna do
adrenaline
it
junkies.
20 times in a season, you know, I want it to be exciting. I want it to have its moments for sure of musicality and depth and a slowness, but you know, I think we're all on the same page there. We love an exciting start and finish.
Sometimes fast is just good.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Don't overthink it. Just make it
Make it
fun.
fast. Yeah.
Yeah, we are
I
definitely
can't make
not.
this dot. Well, just go faster. Get
go
over
Yeah.
there. Get over there.
We're definitely not ones that are like the try and like play the points game for the rubric or anything like that.
Definitely not.
It's just we just find the things that we love about marching band and about battery, about front ensemble, and about big moments and wins and great musicality. And it's like just try and make it as exciting of an adventure and journey as it can be. And then it's like, all right, so now how does this lay out on the points? Like,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I'm not saying that we don't try and make sure that we
Competitive, yeah.
do some things, but overall, it's just like, what's the most exciting way we can do this? And then let's just do it that way and let it happen.
So we've kind of gone through the first 4 shows we put together. Give us a little, pitch us a little bit on what's coming down. What's the Forney band gonna go for this year? Really excited about this show.
Yeah, Johann Sebastian Rock.
That says it all right there.
There it is.
It's all in the title. If you can't figure out what we're about to do just by the title.
Yeah, the great, the prolific, the amazing, my favorite Bach, and conjunction with our favorite rock.
Classic rock songs.
Classic rock. I mean, it's got Led Zeppelin. I mean, I'm a guitar player. I started playing guitar whenever I was 12 years old. And like the first thing that I was learning on guitar was, you know, like Led Zeppelin and Aerosmith and Rolling Stones and Stevie Ray Vaughan and on through the classic rock genre. So this is just my wheelhouse to have music like I said, Led Zeppelin and Rolling Stones and Guns N' Roses and Leonard Skinner and some Rush in there for my percussion friends.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, it's just fun stuff. And the more we talked about it, the more we're excited that we got about it. And it's like, okay, when we're all like this excited about doing this, we know we're on the right track.
Yeah.
You know? So
That was fun.
yeah, I'm pumped.
That'll
I'm
be
pumped.
great. So check us out at a marching contest near you, and come say hi, and come out to rehearsal and see our students, and we've got a
Absolutely.
big guitar on the field and some other cool props that we're going to kind of use to help the theme a little bit.
Yeah.
We're really excited for.
We're looking for a 75-foot long guitar if anybody has
If
one.
anyone has a 75-foot guitar,
We need one.
It might be too late by the time this episode comes out, but if you've got one, we would really appreciate it. So, well, it's just been great kind of talking with you, Cody, and you know all these things we've talked about before, but to just go through them one by one with you has been really refreshing for me, and just a good reminder of how much we appreciate you, and
likewise.
what a great, not only coworker and boss, but a great friend you are.
Yeah,
So
likewise,
thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here, and we have one more segment that Shannon's going to head up that we've done on almost every episode.
I think everyone, right?
And it's a
It
fan
needs its own
favorite.
theme song.
Yeah, it really does.
Maybe by the time this episode comes out, there'll be a theme song.
Yeah, we'll get a theme song going.
Nice.
Get the Sibelius out.
Yeah,
and
let's do it.
one, and so yeah, would you want to take it away?
Yeah, this is my segment, good idea, bad idea.
Oh, okay.
I ask you a question, you just tell me if it's a good idea or a bad idea, and you can expound upon that answer if you feel so inclined to.
Okay.
Hiking without the proper footwear.
Bad idea.
You ever
Bad.
done it?
Yes, unintentionally. Yeah, unintentionally. You want to have a terrible hike and not be able to take in all the beauty around you, but only think about how your heel or your foot or your toe or whatever is killing you. Yeah, do the bad footwear thing. Yeah.
Do you have a suggestion for the hikers out there? I'm sure there's a lot of there's a lot of cross.
Yeah.
section.
Okay. This hike that I just did last week in New Mexico had a lot of snow at the top of the peak, at the top of the mountain, and I never thought I would really need to purchase this equipment, but I bought some micro spikes, which is like these. It's like it's kind of like snow chains for your shoes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they just like slide on the outside of your boots. Big help. I did not slide off the side of the mountain. My wife was happy about that. And so, yeah, throw down some micro spikes on snow and ice. It's fun.
Nice.
I wish there were people I liked in REI. I just always find when I leave REI, I always find myself annoyed with at least one or two people in that store.
It can be a little bit like snooty hiking.
Yeah.
You know,
A little
like,
pompous.
Yeah, a little bit like.
A little precocious.
REI,
if
if
you
you're
will.
listening, let's
Yeah,
tame it down a little
Let's
bit.
tame it down there on the
Let's tame the
facetious.
let's tame this
yeah.
ego down there.
Being a teacher, I don't have like REI equipment money. So I'm a Amazon.
Go straight for the clearance section.
Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of where my hiking equipment comes from.
Nice.
So
That's great.
yeah.
All right, good idea, bad idea. Not drinking enough water before marching rehearsal.
Oh, bad idea. Hydrate or dihydrate. That is what the shirt says that I wear at the beginning of summer marching band. Yeah, there's always gonna be somebody that doesn't believe
Someone
me.
gets sick.
Is gonna test it and then
Yeah.
he's gonna like fountain spew in front of all their friends, which in like the high school scene, that's just about as bad as you could ever
Right.
experience. I mean, in front of your friends vomiting.
No one's gonna forget that.
Yeah,
There's a
so,
few-
like-
there's a few things in that category that no one will forget, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just drink water. Hydrate.
Yeah, drink
Hydrate.
enough water. Right?
H2O.
That's right.
H2O. Gatorade.
Good idea, bad idea, as an RVer, foregoing tire inspections.
Well, I would say bad idea, but I was like
So far, these are all bad ideas.
They're
Yeah.
all about. I don't know how that happened.
yeah, I think we're on 10 or 11. I've lost count. I think it's 10 blown out tires on our RV since we started in 2019. But we have a lemon. We had like a lemon RV, and so like the axle was messed up and was blowing out all the tires. Because I relentlessly inspected those tires and the air pressure and monitored them, and they just kept blowing.
It's like a good lawn.
So-
You gotta just constantly.
So I guess what I would say now is like, forget it. Don't even monitor them. They're gonna blow up.
Roll
Just
the dice.
enjoy it as long as you can, then put a new tire on.
Yeah.
Didn't you have an RV stuck in San Antonio for like an absurd amount of time?
Yeah, I went to TBA. And took my RV down there because my family wanted to go to SeaWorld and all that kind of stuff. And so they made a little trip out of it. And I went to the convention, and on the way out of the RV resort thing, the wheel fell off, like broke, shattered, the hub, metal everywhere. And I frustratingly just left it. I just detached the trailer. And I left it, and I told them, I was like, y'all can just sell it or something. I'm so tired of this thing. And I calmed down. It took me 3 months because we came back for the state marching championship in November.
Nice.
And it was still there, and a band dad pulled it back to Forney, America for me.
Band dads are
Yeah,
the best.
Mr. Castles, thank you, Mr. Castles. He pulled the trailer back for me.
What a guy.
Yeah.
That's one of those you talk about. We didn't get into this because it's not really a good strategy for longevity, but you like to push things down sometimes, right? That's maybe one you just push down.
Push it deep down inside.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't let it go.
Push it down in there. That's right.
Awesome. All right, last one here then. Good idea, bad idea, letting the wife be in control of the thermostat to the house.
Okay, I'm going to say good idea.
Good for you.
So you don't get in trouble.
Yeah. A happy wife, good life.
Right.
There you go. So, yeah, she's in charge of the house. She wants it the way that she wants. My dad had a Long talk to me about this right before we got married. Like, listen, sit down, son, okay? That's her domain. She's going to want it the way she wants it. Just go with it.
Yeah.
And so
Just
it's like,
learn
you
to
know,
This is good advice.
well, if she's happy. She's happy. She wants it that way. She can have it that way.
Love it.
This
It's
fly
fine.
that's been distracting me. It's
Yeah.
actually a rival podcast. One of our rivals has infiltrated us and they're listening. So if you've been distracted by the fly, that's probably what it is.
Flies Out podcast.
Yeah.
Flies out, but
Sounds like an interesting.
I'm not sure what to talk about. I don't listen to the rival. That would be silly of me.
Oh yeah, we don't learn anything from
I
anyone
don't know
else.
what it's about. I just know what it's called.
Yeah. So that was a good segment. Nice try. We'll keep the good idea, bad idea
Nice.
going, and maybe we've got some other ideas. for our wins.
It's never really gone poorly yet.
No,
so.
it's always.
But it just needs a theme song.
Yes, we can work on that.
Yeah.
Do 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 ba-doom, psh. I don't know. Something.
Yeah. This is,
We got all these fancy
I
lights and buttons now.
have ideas. It'll fit my silly
One more
personality.
thing to add to your list to contribute to this thing that makes us no money.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. That tracks.
Yep, that tracks for sure.
Before we close it out, is there anything you want to plug? Any other? We talked about some of your affiliations, but any final words of advice for our viewers and listeners?
I would just say that this is the finest profession in the world, I think. Education is the finest profession in the world. There are no doctors, lawyers, rocket surgeons, or anything in between. That if there's not a teacher there to push that student, to nourish that those young minds, and I think that all too often in this day and age, education is getting a bad rap.
Sure.
It's being attacked from all sides, I feel like, at the political spectrum. And the more that those voices shout falsehoods, from the rooftops, the more people just believe that it's true. But then when you come to the classroom and you see the students, the next generation is ready to be amazing.
Yeah.
They're ready to be amazing if people like educators are there to invest in them. So I would say that the more that you can contact your representative at the state level specifically, and profess your belief in what education, the public education system is doing, what music education is doing for your student, the better. And when you think you've done it enough, do it again. Because this thing that we have should not be taken for granted. And we have to continue to fight for what we see every single day in the classroom is these amazing students and the amazing teachers that are sacrificing, honestly, so much to be there in those classrooms every single day. So, go education.
Words of wisdom from the great Cody Newman. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. You've been a great guest, and I'm really looking forward to this upcoming season. And we've got some really awesome guests lined up to join us and to give their perspective on teaching and music. And thank you for being our first one. Thank you for everything you do for us as percussion directors and as friends. And we're just really thankful for you and can't wait to put this episode together and send it out to our viewers and just to see the feedback that we get. I know that people are really going to love hearing all of the great things that you've had to say today.
Great, cool. Well, it's really fun. I really appreciate you guys inviting me. It's a cool talk. So
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing all the great stuff that's coming down the pipe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great.
It's going to be great. So we'll close
Nice.
it out here. Thanks, everyone, for joining us on this awesome episode of the Dream Job Podcast. Remember, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, as well as YouTube and Facebook. So make sure you check us out on all those places. And please, please, please share with your friends. And keep living the dream and have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. Grow the show.